Fellas,
Hey, how you doing?
hey, what's up, guys? Sorry, man.
No,
No
no problem at
worries.
all.
Damn, you guys do look alike.
Man, we can hardly believe that this is even happening. This is so cool.
What's up, guys? Hey, man, dude, I gotta say thank y'all for being flexible because I'm getting ready to go on the road tomorrow, and one thing after another, and here I am running behind time. So thank you guys for being flexible on that. But I got my yard done. I'm halfway packed. Got half my laundry done. I'm better than I was this morning when I woke up. So how you
Nice.
guys? How you guys doing?
We're doing good. I see your is that the Idaho gun hat that you got on for us?
Yep. I did not hear you guys say you guys are from Washington, but you live in Idaho now.
Yeah, so I'm still in Idaho and Hunter actually just moved back to Washington, but we're originally from a small town about an hour east of Seattle.
Oh, copy that. What's the town?
It's called Duval. It's outside of like Redmond where Microsoft is and stuff. It's backed up against the mountains.
Gotcha. Yeah, there's what I'm trying to think past Tacoma over there. We've played a few times at like a big fair or something. I know that's kind of out that way.
Yeah, I actually live in Tacoma now.
Nice.
Like not far from the Tacoma Dome, and then there's the Puyallup State Fair, and then like White River Amphitheater, stuff like that.
Nice. Yeah, I'm on the opposite end of the country from you guys. You guys are up here, I'm down here.
Yeah, you're at the very bottom, southern Alabama, right?
Yeah, I'm in Gulf Shores, Alabama, on the beach or about a mile from the beach in Alabama. But
Yeah,
I wore the hat for you guys. I always try to wear a hat or in a shirt that's according to whatever kind of podcast or something I'm doing that day. And somebody gave me this a few years back, and I always liked it, but I really didn't have a reason to wear it very often. I don't know not many Idaho guys in our crew, or
Yeah.
we play there, always bring it. Nobody ever notices it. So anyway, I thought for you
well,
guys I'd break it out.
we love it, and we both have one of those hats too. But yeah, I don't blame you. Nobody knows where or what Idaho is down south.
It's a sick hat though. I mean, it's sick.
It is. Oh yeah.
The shop that makes those is actually just about 10 minutes from my office here at work. So it's right downtown. It's awesome.
Nice. Well, hey, I know I've listened to a few episodes of you guys' podcast. I love what you do. You guys got passionate about the baseball, like I have about certain things at certain times. They come and go in waves. The older I get, it seems like. But so what do you guys do? So you're back in Idaho. You're in Idaho. You're back in Washington. So you guys both work and just huge sport. Did y'all play ball in college or something like that, or growing up? Or I'm sure growing up you had to if you're nuts about it like you guys are.
Yeah. So I'll
Twins.
start. Yeah, right. I'll go and then Hunter can go. Yeah, so we both played baseball all the way through college. I also played football, or not through college, through high school, until college, and then I also played football through high school. So we're just we're huge sports fans in general. We actually love football equally as much as baseball. We just happen to kind of find the niche of baseball to start the podcast about, but
Yeah.
really since then we're right under a year now, and we've dove into a ton of football. And then as huge country music fans, I mean, we have a concert list of different people that we've seen,
Nice.
starting way back in I think 04 05 with Rascal Flatts. We have, I mean, hundreds and hundreds of concerts. And so
wow.
we're like, well, why not start incorporating that into our episodes? Because we love country music just as much as we love sports. So we figured, why not? We've had a couple upcoming artists on. And then, of course, once you guys started right around the same time we did, I think, we started listening to that and getting into podcasts. And we're like, man, what are the chances we could get JR on sometime?
Dude, anytime, man. This is great. I'm in the same boat, guys. I grew up playing ball. Then in college, it all kind of come to an end, screeching halt. And then music kind of took over, and I just kind of followed this crazy path that got me here. But then last year, yeah, Justin and I had threatened for a long time that we should do a podcast because we'd be backstage at a show or just somewhere, and we'd think, even if it wasn't some famous friend, it could be just somebody in our family or some person we know. We're like, God, if we had a show and could have this person on there and the world could see how ridiculous so and so is, it would be hilarious. If nothing else, hilarious to us.
Mhm.
So we just kind of finally finally, when we had to sit around for a while, we're like, let's do it. And I love podcasts, listen to a bunch of them. And like you said, passionate about music and in sports. So it's kind of the same thing. And Justin and I usually talk about basically the same crap we talk about on the podcast together, every week on the bus,
Right.
but we didn't get to do that. So we're like, well, let's just do it on here and see how it goes. So now I think we're on, I don't even know how many episodes. We're on third season. We're on about episode 16, but we've just been kind of winging it going. Thank you guys for listening too. By the way, I appreciate y'all's support.
Yeah. And I mean, honestly, like we always talk about stuff, the two, like Duncan and I, and then like with our friends, we were like kind of same thing. What if we just pressed record when we talk about it?
Yeah.
And I mean, and straight up, Duncan nor I have not missed a single episode of the Justin Moore podcast since the first one came out. And like all the guests, like when you guys had Riley Green on, he is Duncan and I's favorite upcoming. I mean, he's a little more than upcoming, but like love his stuff, just singing about life. So when you guys had him on, we were like, full circle. That's the package deal right there.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. Well, next time he's up that way, I have to hook y'all up. Young Meaty, man. He's a good dude. He's from down here in Alabama like me. And I don't know what stage you call that he's in, but it's on the way to the top wherever he is on it. But he's good
I'm
stuff.
I'm actually going to see him. He's coming to a small town in Washington at the beginning of August. And then 10 days later, I'm going to go to Boise to see him.
Nice. Yeah. I'm trying to think if we have anything on the books out that way. I don't know. We'll have to talk about it, but I'll make sure you guys got my number. So whenever we do get out that way, we can hook up for sure.
Yeah, actually full circle, which I'm sure we'll get into, but just on that note, we saw Riley Green last year in Boise with John Party.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yes. How about that? Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah. Definitely full circle for me, because I've seen them all in different stages, and now they're both killing it. But I kind of could have called that to everybody when I told them that watch out for John Party, he's going to be huge, and that's why I'm going to work for him. Or when I said, hey, somebody ought to sign this Riley Green guy from back home. He's really good. I'm just telling y'all. And no, but don't listen to me. I've been doing it for 20 years. Don't listen to me. I don't know anything, and see where they're at now. So anyway.
Right. Yeah. We saw Justin at the Gorge probably in 2010, and then or summer of 19, he played at the Boise golf tournament.
Yes, I was there. Oh yeah.
Yeah. And so we were, front row. That was right when Why We Drink came out.
Yeah.
And man, I knew every word, and a camera got on me, and I was
oh my God. I could almost picture you guys there, because I'm trying to I remember that show. It was down like just on one of the fairways. Mm-hmm. They had a stage set up just off the cart path, and they had some RVs behind there. I remember the whole setup that day. Yeah. And it was cool. It was kind of like playing the Catalina wine mixer, though. You know what I mean? It wasn't our normal, country arena show or, county fair or whatever. But that was cool. How far are you guys from the Gorge? Talking about the Gorge, what a beautiful spot. How far is that?
Where we grew up is probably about 3 or 3.5 hours.
Nice. It's not too far for some.
Not bad.
Something as amazing as that. That's like us. I grew up about 3 hours from the beach, so you get to go to the beach in 3 hours. That's pretty cool. Or you go up to some little mountains in North Alabama, nothing too crazy. But the Gorge, I know people have heard us that listen to our podcast have heard us talk about it being one of the top venues to play in the country, maybe in the world. But God, the Columbia River Basin, just a beautiful view. And for us backstage, all of our offices are hanging off the back of that. So like the dressing rooms and production offices and the back, basically you can imagine in the very back of the stage, if you're standing looking at the stage, the front of the stage, the back of it, there's only about another 50 yards, and then it drops off that cliff. So the way it's set up for the trucks and all to unload equipment and stuff. And then if you're looking at the stage to the right, along that same level, there's the production offices and the dressing rooms, and there are windows and balconies that overlook that. You're just basically hanging off the edge of that cliff. So yeah, beautiful spot. Good place to see shows too.
Incredible.
Yeah. I went there full circle, went there first with John Party back in about 09, 10, and then back again with Justin in 14. And then the first time I met Tracy Lawrence and his band, and his fiddle player Joe was there with John. And then now we're just on tour with Tracy and his fiddle player Joe.
Oh man.
Full circle. So, but cool. And then I heard you guys, I know you guys talk a lot about baseball, and I had to throw this in there because this is the first thing I thought of when y'all were talking about Washington, and y'all Mariners fans, right?
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
And that's what I was thinking too. You guys are a little younger than me, I'm sure, but when I was growing up, dude, Ken Griffey Jr.,
Oh yeah.
there was nobody as feared as Ken Griffey Jr. I mean, he was the coolest, and he was just, he had a great long career, but you just thought, I mean, he was just too talented. He was like the LeBron, he was stronger, faster. He could play everything, do everything really well. And I remember that about the Mariners back then. Didn't win a ton, but man, y'all had a stud in Griffey.
Yeah.
They still not winning a ton, but they've got some young prospects that look good. But yeah, we figured that we won't grill you too much on baseball because we know you're a basketball football guy. But
yeah, but I grew up, I'm Braves guy too, and we were good when I was growing up too, and that's a lot of it. Being in the South, we only have the Braves, because Alabama,
Right.
we don't have a pro team. Only South Florida has pro teams. There's no pro teams in Mississippi, Arkansas, Louisiana. So it's like, or Tennessee even too, South Carolina. You think about all around there, there's no pro baseball teams. So
Yeah.
everybody, and you had two channels back then that had baseball on. It was TBS, which was the Braves, or it was WGN out of Chicago, because that was due north, so that sprinkled over the South, and that was the Cubs. So it was like, well, you got to pull for the Braves. If you're pulling for Chicago or Atlanta, we're pulling for Atlanta. We're pulling for the
Right.
Braves, So, but I did like Dawson and Sandberg. I mean, I'd watch that if the Braves weren't playing. But so growing up a Braves fan, we were good. We had good players. They were hot, but we won one championship. We were in the hunt a lot, but we only won one. We're kind of like the Bills in that regard. We were there, but we really just didn't quite get it done. But yeah, so I do love baseball. Kind of lost touch with it over the years. Still get into it here and there, but man, it's hard nowadays. Even with basketball, I don't know half the guys in the playoffs. You take a year or two off, not really paying attention to the game, and you're lost.
Oh yeah, I mean, they stole our Sonics, and it's hard for us to pay attention.
Well, yeah, and then I've been through that. I pulled for the Hawks when I was young because New Orleans didn't have a team because the Jazz had left. But like my granddad liked the Jazz, but the Jazz were gone by the time I was around. So I pulled for the Hawks. Well, then here comes the Hornets come to New Orleans, and I'm like, well, they're not really Hornets in New Orleans. That's the Jazz.
Right.
And there's no Jazz in Salt Lake City. But so we had the Hornets. So then I started venturing over that way. Then the Grizz came after they left Vancouver, which was, that was another. I didn't really think it was going to last. Glad it did, grit and grind. But because having another team in the South that, my grandparents in Mississippi, theoretically, we could go to Memphis and go to a game, to whereas before that we couldn't, without going, hell, I don't know, 9 hours to Houston, or Charlotte, something like, I mean, it's a hike to go, or 7.5 to Chicago, 8 hours, so as far as that, Memphis having a team was great. And then the Hornets, but it was always like, then we got Chris Paul, then they let him go. It was always like, and then now it's the Pelicans, it's in stone. Anthony Davis is at the Lakers. We have Zion is our corner piece.
There you go.
Brandon Ingram, that's our. But I still have to think, boy, what if we still had AD? What if we had AD, Zion, and Brandon Ingram?
Right.
That'd be dangerous. But anyway, that's how it plays out. Just like the Hawks used to do. I hope the Pelicans don't. Hawks used to always get good players, and then their first time it was up for them to re-up their money, they'd send them off for some old guy from some other team. I remember one time they traded, I think it was it Dominique for Danny Manning? And I'm just like, what are y'all thinking? And then same thing with Glenn Robinson, Jason Terry. They'd get somebody good, and Josh Smith, and then as soon as their first time it's time to make money, they're gone, and the team never really gets good. I'm like, can we just be good once or twice? Can we go to the finals? So that's a roundabout way about my sports thing. Definitely grew up loving the Braves, transition into basketball. Still love the Braves. Just don't watch as much of any of it as I used to be honest.
For
but
sure.
I do try to keep up. I talked to Moore, and I actually was texting with Marty Smith earlier, and I'll get a rundown every now and then. But it's like there's a lot going on. It's a lot of games in baseball. Unless you just watch every day and are watching the ticker, it's hard to know.
Yeah. Well, Dunk, you wanna kick it off officially?
Yeah, it's awesome that we've been able to cover a few things already, but we'll officially introduce JR, the big episode 50 special guest, and then yeah, we'll hear a little bit about you. But yeah, let me introduce you officially, welcome you on, and we'll dive into a couple things.
Awesome.
All right, everybody. We are very excited welcoming on a very special guest to the Zoom machine, as they call it, on the Justin Moore podcast for our big episode 50. He is one out of two high-tech rednecks that we listen to every Friday from the Justin Moore podcast, and he's actually Justin Moore's tour manager. We've got JR the Handler on here. JR, welcome on. Thanks for carving out a few minutes of your busy day.
Oh man, thank you guys for having me. No problem at all. I got thank you guys for being flexible. I'm running a little behind today per usual. But I got all my chores done, so I'm in no rush. We can chop it up as long as you guys want, about whatever you guys want. I'm free the rest of the afternoon. So thanks for having me on, man. I've listened to your show several episodes. Love the show. Appreciate y'all supporting ours, and yeah, I'm glad to be here, man. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, kind of cool. Just like we said earlier, just kind of getting into the podcast game at the same time. And man, we love to listen every week to you guys, hear what's going on down south, and we can bring you a little bit of the Pacific Northwest today.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, well, I mean, we know a lot about you. We've listened, like Hunter was saying earlier, to every episode of the Justin Moore podcast since it started. But for those out there that might not know about JR and even about the Justin Moore podcast, why don't you tell the listeners a little bit about yourself, your background? Yeah, we'll let you take it away.
Yeah. With me, I'm like you said, guys said, I work in the world of country music. I am the tour manager for Justin Moore, country music artist, one of my best friends in the world. Great guy, Arkansas, born and bred. Yeah, Justin's had a bunch of string of hits. I've been with him about 8 years. He's actually a few years younger than me, but he feels like my older brother half the time, or my older cousin, because he's a dad of four and got it together a lot sooner than I did. So, but yeah, I work for Justin full time on the road, and as far as our tour stuff, with his career. And then during quarantine, like you guys did, we decided, we had threatened long enough that we should do a podcast to talk with all of our friends and how interesting people we meet and things like that, but always use the excuse we just didn't have the time. And then about, I don't know, March or April of last year, we're like, okay, we've got plenty of time on our hands, it looks like. So we decided to launch the Justin Moore podcast. And I know people say, oh, great name. And we tried, let me tell you guys, we tried every name. We enlisted like everybody we knew in our organization, anybody in our band, crew, office, anything we knew, the t-shirt makers, all that. We're like, everybody, any ideas you guys have for what we should call this, throw them in. We got a list of like 200, and we whittled it and whittled it and whittled it, and nothing worked. We couldn't tried every play on his last name, tried every, with the music, with the tried everything you could. And finally we're like, we're just going, because at first we're like, we're not calling it the Justin Moore podcast. Justin's like, we're not calling it the Justin Moore podcast. And at the end of the day, we called it the Justin Moore podcast. Nothing else seemed to work. So we started that. And I think I've got to do the math, but I think we're about, like you guys, we're working on about episode 50. We've taken a break here or there to retool some things. And then, as you mentioned, we are high-tech rednecks, or we try to be at least. We have the worst technology that you can imagine. He lives in rural Arkansas, and I live down here near the beach, and that's why another reason I was a little late today. I have to run a 200-foot Cat 5 cable out of my studio to my house to ensure that I have solid internet back here until I get my Starlink that they're supposed to bring later this year. So sometimes we try to get episodes in and just can't, or hadn't over the last year or so. But yeah, so we're on about episode 50 as well. And yeah, it's been fun, man. Like you guys say, we talk about sports, music, home, concerts, just what's going on in the world, kind of brief, nothing too heavy, just a BS session. And then we invite our friends on, sports people, other entertainers, people like that, and just people we meet along the way. And since starting it, it's been cool because we've actually met some people we haven't known prior to starting the podcast. At first, we had know we talked about before the official start of this, we talked about, like Riley Green episode and some of those. We had John Party and Tracy Lawrence and, even Marty Smith and some other buddies of ours, Diamond Dallas Page, Colt Ford. But I think we started with Brantley was actually our first one, which was fun. And we used to, I don't know if y'all noticed, we used to do them at night, and now we do them in the daytime. They go a lot smoother when you do them in the daytime.
I was kind of hearing that there's less drinks and maybe Justin wasn't pulling as many hillbilly slips.
Yeah,
because you guys talk about having to get into the yard after you record.
Yeah, we used to try to record once we get the kids to bed, and once we decided it's better to just start fresh in the day. So we got to talk to a bunch of friends of ours we normally talk to a good bit out on the road or just call them late at night and things like that. And during the pandemic, we didn't get to. So we got to catch up with them. But then here recently, we've got to talk to a few people we don't know. We had Jameson Rogers, an up-and-coming country artist from Mississippi that I'm a really big fan of. We talked to him recently, and I met him. I actually had only met him through like Instagram or something. I told him congrats on a record or something a while back. But we had never talked, so we got to chop it up with him for an hour, and it was good to get to know Jameson. Now, next time we see him, we'll already have been like, "Hey, what's up?" We already know each other,
Yeah.
And then we actually had Matthew McConaughey on about a month ago, which was kind of out of nowhere, and that definitely wasn't really like BFF with McConaughey beforehand. Probably not after, but he's cool. They got swap numbers. Hey, let's hook up for a football game. Normal, nice guy. But had we not started the podcast, we probably wouldn't have that relationship already.
Right.
And that's cool because that's what we normally would do on the road. You run into other people at festivals and stuff like that, but not being on the road for over a year. Took that away. So the podcast gave us that back. And, with that, like I said, my main job is Justin's tour manager, and we ain't had no tour. So I ain't had no tour to manage. So it's been a whole lot of waiting and wishing, and having the podcast at least gives us something in the realm of what we do, so that's about that. And then, as far as me, been doing this 20 years, tour managing by trade. I don't play or sing. Just recently learned to talk in front of people, failed speech class 6 times at Troy University. And here I am talking to you guys on your podcast today. How about that?
Hey,
Dream big, kids.
Speaking of Troy, I didn't think about it before we started, but I knew that you had mentioned it on the podcast that you went there. Boise State squared off against Troy a few times in the last few years. So I remember watching them on the Blue up here, and I know they went down there at least once or twice. So little small school rivalry right there.
Yeah. You guys, I have my buddies. I remember them sending pictures of when you guys came to Troy. I didn't get to go to that game. And I remember seeing us play you guys. Yeah, because you got the cool field. Y'all got a nice niche though. Everybody knows who Boise State is.
We got on the map against Oklahoma in the Fiesta Bowl in 2007. But yeah, the blue turf, you can't really deny that.
Yeah. A cool trademark. Some people call it cheating. They think you guys are cheating.
They say that when the Oregon Ducks come to town, so many ducks die because they think it's water and they come in to land on the field.
Oh. Hey, whatever it takes. Hey, that's the 12th man, 13th man, whatever. Yeah, why not?
Yeah, we're also Seahawks fans, so we're the 12th man up here too.
12th man. Yeah. Hey, y'all had one of my all-time favorites, Sean Alexander, play for you guys back in the day. Stud from the University of Alabama. When I got a chance to get my University of Alabama made me a jersey one time for something I was involved in, and they asked me what number I wanted. And at the time, I couldn't think. It was early in the morning. I was hungover, and he was my favorite player at the time, and I just said 37.
37.
My JR Alabama, early 2000s jersey is 37, like Sean Alexander's. What a stud!
Yeah, what a Alabama legend, and of course Seahawks legend. He was really, that's one of the first guys we remember, him and Matt Hasselbeck, and that was the first Super Bowl ever for the Seahawks. And we were growing up. I remember being whatever we were, 10, 12, when they went to the first Super Bowl. And it was just, undeniably cool. And you watch Sean Alexander put just record after record on, Matt Hasselbeck, and just the whole team. That 05, 06, 07 era was special in Seattle.
Yeah, dangerous for sure. And now, hell, you guys are back. You guys are perennial. Y'all are in the hunt every year lately since Pete Carroll got there, I guess.
Russell Wilson is the game changer, and Pete Carroll definitely brought a lot to Seattle. And I think he definitely found his groove for the end of his coaching career.
Yeah.
And I mean, he's 66 years old running up and down the sideline. So that's the kind of energy we need.
It's like Saban. Same thing with Saban. Everybody says,
Yeah.
when's Saban going to retire? I'm like, hell, have you seen him? He looks better shape than me. I mean, I don't know. But yeah, and Russell Wilson. I mean, what a class act guy. It seems like too. You never hear any static out of him. It's like he just always head down, get the job done, and he does a great job for you guys. And yeah, your whole team, y'all keep a nice team built around him too. I mean, y'all usually got some thunderous guys on defense. You know, got some options on offense. But NFL's, it changes a lot with the trades and whatnot. But you guys I saw this week that another Bama legend, Julio Jones, says he wants out of Atlanta.
Saw that. Yeah.
Whenever he'll go, I'm like, please. I sent a little Saints Fleur de Lis emoji to him. I say, please come to the Saints. But I'm a Saints guy, by the way, as far as pro football.
Oh yeah, we love the Saints. I mean, we were big Drew Brees fans our whole life, and so right there, we love and respect the Saints. And I mean, what a legend! He was my fantasy quarterback for like the last 10 years.
Yeah. Dude, and then now too. What about Metcalf recently? In that came in 9th in the world in track and field, like his first, or is it at the States maybe? But either way, plays top 10. First time he tried.
Yeah, I was gonna say the Seahawks especially go for a lot of those SEC guys. So getting Metcalf out of Ole Miss, I mean, in especially a later pick, he's a guy that people slept on, and we saw a little diamond in the rough, and his speed is just undeniable. I think it was that Monday Night Football game last year against the Rams where he just ran him down 100 yards, and he's just unbelievable.
Unbelievable. I hadn't seen things like that, literally, guys, since Bo Jackson was playing. Like, I've seen some cool stuff. I've seen some nice grabs, and I've seen some thunder licks. But somebody to do something that impressive, that's been since like Bo Jackson type. I mean, crazy, you know, Barry Sanders spinning out of the whole team 5 times kind of stuff. Him to hawk down another defensive back in the NFL like he did with the head start that he was given is crazy. And that guy's, 235, 240 probably. He's a big joker too, you know?
Yeah, and he's like 24, 25 years old. Like he has a career ahead of him for sure.
Yeah. SEC state, talking about the SEC stays loaded in that respect, with star talent. And it's every team. It's not just Bama or, you know, whoever, LSU, but it's everybody's got somebody on their team that can fly and that's huge and they can lift the whole gym.
Yeah, I have to say one note on Bama. So we both went to Boise State for all 4 years, and we graduated in 19. But our whole time there, we were like front row every football game, and we'd get some big ones in. Like we got Troy to come visit us and stuff. But you know, when we're having a good run, and you know, technically, Boise State has the all-time winningest football program. You know, in the last 20 years or whatever. Obviously Alabama's the last 10, but everybody, the student section gets chanting, "We want Bama." So we might need to be a little bit humbled, but if we show up in Tuscaloosa, don't be surprised.
Hey, I like it. Hey, why not? You got to be, hey, as Ric Flair said, to be the best, you got to beat the best. So there you go.
For sure.
You know? Hey, you guys, speaking of that, you guys like wrestling? Or as we call it in the South, wrestling. Y'all like wrestling, pro wrestling?
Yeah, we try to follow it as much as we can. Sometimes it's hard with the pay-per-view, but now that we have ESPN Plus, at least we can get a little more access there.
Nice. Yeah, I don't keep up as much as I used to. There's a lot going on. But yeah, I've always been a wrestling guy, and just thought about that because y'all have had that area too. Talking about the Tacoma Dome you mentioned earlier, there has been legendary matches over the years there, like you know, Andre the Giant versus Roddy Piper, and I mean just crazy big stuff. Hulk Hogan versus you know, the Iron Sheik back in the day, stuff like that in the Tacoma Dome, and that was a whole, you know, a lot of good wrestlers came out of that area too. I don't know how I got on that, but anyway, I do that from time to time.
Yeah, I mean, we love sports. Like we said earlier, you know, we're technically a baseball podcast as far as the charts are concerned, but man, we stray into football, basketball. Seattle's getting a hockey team next year, so
nice.
We'll dabble in there. And of course, we like talking college football, and so we just. We love it.
You guys think about the, you mentioned earlier the Sonics left. What do you think? You think any chances you guys get a basketball team in? You have to.
Man, we have to,
right?
We're the biggest. I think we're the biggest economic city without a professional basketball team. And we've tried to, I mean, a couple of years ago, the Kings were going to leave Sacramento. We were like top of the list, but honestly, I don't think it's going to happen without an expansion, but we have to get something soon.
I mean, because it wasn't like there wasn't it was the seats were full when they left. I mean, it wasn't like there was like the crowds weren't there. I mean, there's a town ready for one. I can't believe it's been this long. I just assumed. And when I was growing up, I mean, Gary Payton and Sean Kemp. I mean, are you kidding me? I mean, that was I mean, you knew who the Sonics were. You wanted to pick them on an NBA Jam game. Make the rim or the net catch on fire. But I was just wondering about that because you guys being there on the ground there, boots on the ground, if y'all knew more than I did about that, because I just that's a travesty that Seattle, Washington doesn't have a pro basketball team. The Sonics, if that need to have the Sonics back, it can't be called anything else.
Yeah, we're
green. I mean,
we're not going to accept another team except for the Sonics in green and yellow.
I wouldn't either. I'll protest with you. I'll come out there and stand out in front. Let's do it. Yeah, I'm with you. And I know you guys mentioned on your last podcast about the A's. If any new updates on the A's, were y'all feeling anything different than then?
Yeah, so we're tracking that one pretty close. We haven't, I mean, obviously we started the podcast before baseball even came back, and then we had the short season last year. So really, this is one of the biggest things that we've had to talk about that's kind of ongoing week to week. But last we saw, they had their short list of 6 cities, Portland being one of them. So Portland might add another team in addition to the Trailblazers. They've got a big soccer presence down there. But yeah, I think that would be, for us, that would be cool because that would keep them in the West, and obviously a good rivalry for the Mariners. But otherwise, I think 3 of the locations they're looking at are down in the South. I saw Charlotte, I saw Nashville, and then they're also looking at a couple in Canada, bringing a team back to Montreal or potentially over to Vancouver, BC. So yeah, we'll have to see. I know the president was visiting Vegas this week, and I know with the hype of the Golden Knights, and especially the Raiders, they're really trying to make a presence there.
Yeah, it's tough. It's like you say about basketball, you almost need an expansion because 4 of those cities need teams, really.
Yeah.
And
Right.
Oakland needs to keep their team. That's the A's. That's where they play. I mean, and I tell you this, Nashville, I hadn't lived there in a few years, but I still go there a lot for work. But I mean, Nashville is booming. Nashville's got a good nod for it. It's got good weather for it. It's a cool town. It's the vibey town right now. Everybody wants to be at, and it's they got plenty of money and plenty of space. They could use a pro baseball team. It's a growing town. I could see them getting it because of the weather thing too. You'd have more games, but I like the idea of them being up there by you guys, or even if they're in Vancouver, because that's BC, that's western part of Canada. So that would be another road trip, not too far, and another team over in Canada does need another team, but they need one. Nashville probably needs one, and Charlotte. I mean, you think about it, Charlotte, North Carolina. I fly in out of there every now and then. That's a big old town. I'm sure they could hold it. And Vegas. I mean, so you know what I mean? It's just population. Yeah, need more teams, really.
Let's get a 4-team expansion going. I have to say, if it's not Portland or Vegas to stay in the West, I would like to see Nashville. I saw that. It was kind of a dream come true. Went to Nashville in September with my fiance, and man, that was a blast. We had perfect weather. It wasn't too hot. And I mean, because up like over here for us, we're like 75 degrees, like say no more. We're good. So
oh really? Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I was in Nashville. It was like 70, 75 kind of end of September. And
yeah, that's a good time.
What a cool town. Like, we got to stand on the bridge and watch the Titans play right into their stadium.
Yeah. The walking bridge. Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah.
That's the good time of the year. Nashville gets warm in the summer, and it gets a little snow and ice in the winter, but it's those good times. That's what I like even about where I live here compared to South Louisiana, where my wife's from, where we lived for a few years, they don't really get the seasons. They don't really get a spring and a fall. It's kind of just hot, then cold for a second, then hot again. But even here in Alabama, even more so up there in Nashville, you get that spring and fall where you can really just leave your windows open for about a month or two in each, and the weather's fine. But that's good. I'm glad you guys had a good experience. So you're engaged. When you get married?
Actually, June 12th. So we're less than 3 weeks here.
buddy. You got all your ducks in a row?
Yeah, we're working on it. It's crunch time. We're coming right down to it, but man, we're having fun. And her name's Hannah. She is, I mean, the best, and she was so excited for us to have this podcast, have the interview going today. And so she
awesome.
says hello. But yeah,
hey, Hannah,
we're getting
congrats.
excited.
That's awesome, man. Yeah. So you got your squad ready? Where y'all doing the wedding? Where's the wedding going to be?
Yeah, we're doing it in Eastern Washington. Her parents live on 7 acres. So we're going to do it over there. It's going to be a party. We have a little over 300 people.
Oh, yeah. There we go. Squad ready. I like it. Well,
yeah,
congrats,
and
man.
Duncan's my best man. So,
yeah.
Awesome.
So, I mean, as the best man, we had a good bachelor party here in Idaho. We hit the mountains and did a good camping trip, had a good bonfire, and
we burned the bonfire for about 12 hours.
Nice.
I already know my role for day of in the morning before or the night before is to have Why We Drink on repeat, because that's Hunter's favorite song and definitely the theme of the weekend.
There you go. That's a good one for it. That'll work. Yeah, just get some sleep the week before, because when it's crunch time those last couple nights, you'll end up wanting to stay up and talk and this and that. So rest up the week prior, bank you a couple hours sleep, and yeah, y'all have fun, man. I hadn't had to do as much of that. There was a span there for about 10 years where it seemed like every weekend, especially during the summer, I was at a wedding or in a wedding. It was all my friends, and then I finally, about 5 years ago myself, but it was kind of the end of that. And yeah, it was fun, man. I missed that. Y'all enjoy it. Have a good time.
Yeah, thank you. And then, yeah, whatever sleep we don't get the week before, we're taking off to Costa Rica the following week. So we'll rest up.
Yeah, there you go. Have you some
cocktails
on the beach?
Yeah. We got the all-inclusive, so we'll just show the wristband, and we're set up. Duncan and I were talking about it, and we were like, man, we should get Justin up here to officiate it.
Yeah. I've had a few people hit me up asking about that, because we mentioned it on the podcast, and it would be great, but just hell with him. He's so busy, with his stuff, and it's like, and logistic stuff, but he's always like, man, yeah, it would be fun. But it's just like, he's just got so much going on. I'm lucky. I'm lucky we can get the podcast in with regular work stuff and home life. It's a lot to juggle, but that would be cool. And I wish I could go too. That'd be fun. I could tell my wife, look, we got to go to this wedding. Who is it? I don't know. These guys I met on Zoom. They're awesome. We're going to their wedding.
Yeah. Hey, we're having all you can eat pizza. So if you make it, there will be food.
I love it.
Actually, not too far from the gorge either. Probably only like an hour from there. So.
Nice. Yeah. Well, yeah, I'll have to come back on in a couple of months, and you'll have to fill me in on all the events of the week.
Yeah, definitely. Sure. We'll have a lot to update. One thing, just getting back to music while we have you here, and you might have heard on an episode or two, we've got a segment called Deep Cuts, and for us that was kind of a play on words, if you will, with both our passion for baseball and batting, obviously, but then our passion for country music, and trying to dive into a little bit more music that people might not be as familiar with. But this for us is kind of a big extended deep cut segment, if you will.
Cool.
So I think one thing that I know I would love to hear, and Hunter and I were talking about, is just, tell us what it's like working with Justin and formerly John out on the road, being the tour manager. Obviously the last year has probably been the craziest year that you've had, not having tours, but what's that like? And with tours coming back and everything, I bet you're just so excited.
Yeah, I mean, I am. Obviously, I'm ready to get back to a routine and work. When the older you get, you got responsibilities. It was people always say, oh, it must be so much fun. And it is. It's a great, rewarding job. But it was a whole lot, different kind of fun in my early 20s than it is in my early 40s. And now it's like, we got stuff we need to get done. I'm like, we need to get to work. We have stuff, we have goals to meet. We have things to get done. We cannot sit around. Justin's got a new album we're sitting on. We can't even go play for people. It's like,
oh man,
things like that. So yes, I'm definitely excited to get back out on the road. I'm ready to be around my band and crew every day. I'm ready to be around Justin every day. Not that don't like being at home, but I'm ready to get in the routine of, even talking about music. I don't have anybody to talk about music with at home, and stuff like, I mean, not that my wife and I don't listen to music, but it's just different when you're at work. I don't go to a work of any sort besides, I work at the Floribama some, and I try to stay busy just to not let my mind go too, wander too far this past year. But being around guys, when you're talking about music and talking about deep cuts, that's where I learn from other bandmates and people's, where you learn about this other band you never heard of, and this song that you never heard of, or this songwriter, or this style of music. You learn all kinds of stuff from other people, and getting back to being around those guys, I look forward to doing that. And Justin, like I said, just keeping up, with our normal BS with sports. And then even like, this is like crazy stuff, but like, even like my computer, my computer's like memories full, half-ass works. And I'm like, if I was on the road, I could get our production manager, Jeff, for 30 minutes at some point in any day, and he'd have it fixed, working top notch. But here, nope, I'm at home just limping through for a couple more months till we get on the road. So, I've got all the airline miles and hotels we had to cancel last year I need to use. I don't want to expire, all little stuff like that. It's I look at it as a business sense too, but as far as my passion for the music, yes, I'm ready to get around my people. I'm ready to see other bands. I'm ready to see my other artist friends. I'm ready to see my other, tour managers, production managers, crew people that I've known some of these people my whole career. And, I see them every couple of months at different festivals, and hadn't got to do that in almost 2 years now. So definitely excited to get back to some of that, and hearing music. I'm luckier than a lot, because I've been able to go, I live real close to Florida, and the Floribama, which is my home bar, is on the Alabama-Florida line, and it's technically in Florida. The business address is, so they've been business as usual this entire time.
right?
So I've got to go see music and bands and that kind of stuff more than a lot of people. So that's helped on that end, but it's still not my thing. It's not my show. It's not my outfit that I'm used to running. And so I'm ready to get back to doing that. And like I said, Justin's got this new album. I'm ready to see what we've only played a few of the songs for a few crowds. I want to see how the crowds react and feel that energy, that shot, when the crowd hits. And it's almost like we were talking about wrestling earlier. It's what they call the pop, when they play the music, when they hit that glass, and it's Stone Cold's about to come out, everybody goes nuts. Historically, the Road Warriors was all that, oh, what a rush, and everybody go nuts. It's that pop, same thing when they kill them lights and they know the band's about to start, and then the light kicks on, and then the crowd goes crazy. That's that pop, man. That pop's better than any drug there is. And I look forward to that free pop every night. I don't it's not dangerous, it's not expensive. Well, it's expensive, but it's not very dangerous. So I look forward to getting back and doing all of those things for sure. So I am excited. But then too, it's like Justin and I were talking this week on our podcast. Seems like this the going back out full time seemed like you had plenty of time to get all these things done at home, and now here I am. It's the end of this month, and I've got to go in I got to leave in like 2 days, and I've got a huge list and only a few things checked off that list. So time flies when you're out of your routine and up in limbo, and you think you have time. So I've got to get on some of that before I get on the road, but I'm excited to get back out there and travel too, see these towns. I'm not used to, I love where I'm at. I actually really love where I live now. But I'm used to traveling, going to different towns and seeing different stuff. Like we were talking those different places earlier, I'm ready to go back to the Gorge and Boise and, different places and visit.
Definitely. Well, I mean, we're excited for you to get on the road, and I know that the South's a lot more open, so you guys are going to start around there. But if you get back up to this area, man, we are jumping on tickets. I mean, you talk about deep cuts and stuff. Like, I know Parker McCollum is someone who's kind of just coming up, and we got tickets to see Parker, Riley Green, and Dirks in Boise coming up. And nice. So, I mean, it's probably killed you guys a lot to not be on the road, but we haven't gone more than a month without a concert for I don't know how long. I think like in 2019, I think we were seeing at least one concert a month. And I mean,
Nothing.
we just can't stay away from it. Also, while you were talking, I was thinking, I think my first deep cut for this segment, we probably did it like 5 months ago. My first deep cut was Good Times Don't, the last song off of Late Nights and Long Necks. And Duncan and I just jammed to that song.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's a good one.
another thing I was thinking of when you were talking about just coming out with an album during the pandemic, obviously a lot of guys just started writing and not releasing as much. And the Jameson Rogers interview a couple weeks ago made me think about that because he's actually the last person we saw live with Luke Combs and Morgan Wallen. It was on Halloween in 2019, and then we were supposed to see Randy Houser in January of 2020, and it got canceled, and it's been nothing since then. So,
Dang.
you talk about In It for the Money, the EP, and not being able to promote that, and then obviously Justin putting this one out right when things are opening up. I mean, I just can't imagine that itch to perform live and get those songs out there, because I mean, man, as just consumers and huge fans, we're right clicking on Spotify. We like to see who's the songwriter, all the labels that people are on, and we're super into that. And so with all these artists, all of a sudden, April was kind of the floodgates of all the pandemic music. We just love all the stuff coming out right now.
Yeah, tons of it coming out. Speaking of, what are some I don't want to mess the segment up, but I was if we need to continue on that, or at some point I want to know what you guys are listening to, what all new stuff you guys are jamming.
Oh
What's
man. Yeah, that doesn't mess it up at all. We this is more our niche than baseball. Don't tell anyone. But we can't wait for Friday every week. Sometimes, I'm Pacific time, Duncan's Mountain time. So we get it before midnight on Thursday night. And man, sometimes we'll listen to, full albums before we go to bed on a Thursday night.
nice. Oh, I've been there. I've been there. Oh, I've stayed up waiting on I've stayed up at Walmart waiting on a John Prine record fair and square to get there so I could go home and listen to it in a CD player in Tuscaloosa one time. I remember. I know
Yeah,
that
I
I
mean,
remember those days.
you should see the text thread between Hunter and I every Friday. It's just links to every song that's coming out on our release radar. One that I can speak for both of us on is Muscadine Bloodline.
Oh, yes.
I think
Alabama guys.
oh my
Yeah.
gosh, there you talk about one underrated and two just upcoming with a fire. I mean, we probably got on them right before the pandemic, and then they're on their independent label. They're guys that just focus fully on the fans, and them just pumping out music through the pandemic. I know they've talked about dropping 2 albums this year. I mean, the first chance we get, within a 1,000-mile radius to see them,
Nice.
that's where we're going to be.
Yeah, and their podcast is great too.
Yeah,
Yeah, the Grapevine. That's
I
an
love it.
awesome one.
Yep.
that's one that I thought of when you were talking about the name of the Justin Moore podcast. They nailed it with that title, The
did.
Grapevine, because yeah, I mean, Hunter and I pondered the name for probably about a month trying to think of clever, play on words for baseball and all that. And then we come across The Grapevine, and I was like, man, these guys nailed it.
Nailed it. Nailed it. Very
another
creative.
another one, thinking back to an episode you guys had talking with Heath Sanders. Man, what a guy. And just talking about kind of just not mainstream and talking Texas country. We we can't get enough of stuff like that. Like Dylan Carmichael, he's another one that, man, we just eat that stuff up.
Yeah. Yeah,
One
no
that
doubt.
I
Good.
just saw on Twitter yesterday, actually, that Drew Parker was going to go to radio with his first single. And man, Drew Parker, I mean, just the songwriter and him, all the stuff that he's been on for Luke Combs over the last couple years. But I found his voice back when he came out with Party in the Back probably a couple years ago. And I was just hoping he would get something out. And man, While You're Gone is going to skyrocket on the charts. I'm really pulling for him.
Yeah, I've seen people ask me, did I know about Drew Parker? I was like, yeah, oh, I'm aware for sure. Yeah, oh yeah. I try to stay I try to stay as up on as much as I can, and I used to better because I was kind of just more in that scene, being in Nashville and stuff. So sometimes I've got some friends that do a podcast, the Outlaw Country Music Podcast, that I have to get them to let me know on some obscure stuff because I just don't. I miss a lot of things now that I'm out of that scene as much. But I like to know, like the Bloodline guys. I've known about them, like Riley, because they're from Alabama. Now I know just about everybody comes out of, I keep my ear down here to what's going on. So I've been a fan of theirs forever, and I actually talked with Charlie about them coming on our podcast and Justin getting on theirs at some point. But they're saying got a bunch of new music coming out. I know they're ready to get back on the road, and their podcast, like I said, it's great. That's the Grapevine. You're right. They nailed it on that. I like everything they do about it. I'm like, God, I just want to rip all their stuff off, but I know that I can't. We have our own format here, but I'm like, God, that's a great idea they have. So, but I've always been a big fan of those guys ever since I first heard. I remember, obviously the name's catching. I remember hearing the name when they were, playing fraternity parties and stuff down here, and then I always kept following them on stuff and kept around, and I always thought, yeah, they're really good. Then those other guys, I met Heath, obviously through our management, because he's managed by the same guy as Justin is. And yeah, what a voice, what a story. Just, oil field guy from Arkansas, just, out of nowhere. But my God, we get to do some
just a real guy, it sounds like.
Oh, he is. And I promise he is, because we hang a lot. I mean, we're together a good bit. Him and his guitar player drive his truck to the show, big jacked up, camoed out truck. And he's got a big old chaw in, and he just, as soon as he opens that voice in front of that mic, it's like Justin, same thing. They'll be over there kind of scratchy and just I'm like, God, you up for this? And as soon as they get up there, I'm like, where did that come from? You're just over there half horse a minute ago. But
yeah, even on the episode when you or Justin will mention a song, and then all of a sudden he just pipes in. I'm like, he just went from podcast voice to singing in the drop in.
It's unbelievable. I know. You ought to see him. I remember one of the first things I noticed about Justin was we were doing some media stuff. Like when we first met, it was like, they need him to read these liners. You go, hey, this is Justin, and you're listening to K101, tune in to Marty and Paula on Tuesday mornings or whatever it is. So I'm like, well, they really need these things. You mind doing them? He's like, yeah, I'll do them. He's like, just, all right, so I'm gonna film you on my phone or whatever. And he's like, it's like, you mean to hold this up here? He said, no, just let me look at it. He looks over it. All right, I'm good. I was gonna be holding up. He said, no, I'm good. And I filmed it, and he nailed it, like first try out of just like put the hat on. But hey, this is Justin, and I'm just like, it was more than just a little short one too. It was like, how did you just figure out how to do all that? Same with the singing thing, because he'll talk on the podcast. He'll, I'm sorry, a little hoarse today, blah blah blah,
yeah.
And then 2 seconds later, he's like, belts something out just as good as the album. And I'm like, you don't sound too bad now. Where'd that come from? But anyway, Heath Sanders, same way. When he gets up there and sings, he's as good as they get. And yeah, Dylan, another great one. There's a bunch of them. There's a ton of them. I mean, there's so many, and that's why I'm glad there's people like you guys that expand out and find new music. And with all the technology now, that's the way to go. There's only going to be so many songs played on the radio for each genre, for each channel. So going out and finding stuff, and there's so many ways to get it now and consume it, and so many good ones to go find. So yeah, I've been listening to I fluctuate. I go through all kinds of stuff. Met there's this girl from Alabama, Taylor Honeycutt. Actually saw her and her band play at the Floribama last week, and forgot she had put a couple albums out a few years ago, and man, so good. And
yeah,
then
and you guys had Lainey Wilson on, and she's incredible.
Lainey, so good. Actually, was emailing with Carly Pierce's manager this morning. We're going to try to have her on soon.
Oh, she's awesome.
She's awesome too. Yeah, no doubt, sweetheart. And yeah, just had a huge year last year too. Her and Lee.
Oh
big song.
Crushed that. That was one of my favorite songs last year.
That was really a good song. Yeah, strong, real strong. So
and Luke was actually a writer on that one, which was cool.
Yeah. Crazy. And then I'm like you guys too. I like a lot of like obscure stuff, like Texas stuff. Like my biggest, I've probably listened to more than anybody during the pandemic and all that. It's been Charlie Crockett, guy out of South Texas, that does kind of like throwback, retro type country. I don't know. I like the sound. I've been digging a bunch of that, and and other stuff too. That's what I was just thinking, doing deep, because I was wondering what I have downloaded lately, which is ridiculous because it's all over. It could go from anything to Ricky Nelson. Y'all don't even, that guy's so old, y'all don't remember that, but he's got some good, he had some hits back back in the day. It was good stuff. Hoyt Axton, legend, country legend. Taylor Honeycutt, downloading one of her recent. Hey, there's another guy, Adam Sanders. I don't know if y'all know him. He just put a new
Oh
album out.
yeah,
He
big
comes
fan.
through my playlist quite a bit. I've probably one of his full albums on. Hunter and I actually have a collaborative Spotify playlist, and I think we're just under, what are we at, 100 hours of country music?
Nice.
Probably, what is it, like 2,000 songs on there? We just, I
Yeah.
mean, you can get from here to New York City on that playlist.
I like it. You have to send me the link to that. I got to check that out.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, Adam, I've known him since I worked for Party. He was a songwriter in town. I remember Adam.
Wow, he's good.
I tried to text him. I thought he must have a new number because I asked him if it was his number still, and he didn't hit me back. So I'm gonna DM him or something. But I want to tell him that new album of his sounds so good. Just everything about it, the songs, production, everything. Then there's like 6 Louis Armstrong albums I downloaded. Dylan Carmichael, Travis Tritt's new album. I mean, obviously a legend, but that's Set in Stone record. Thank goodness he put that out.
And speaking of kind of that genre, Alan Jackson too.
Yes.
Man, he had that song Back, and he is bringing country music back.
Yes. He is so good to see. He's one of the ones, like, if he's anywhere close, my wife and I have to go, whatever it takes, if we got to drive, fly, if he's close, I got to get some tickets, whatever we got to do, we got to go see him when he's close. He's one of our faves. Then Jameson and Justin had their albums come out about the same time. I have a buddy, Dallas Moore, who's a outlaw country guy that's on the Texas charts and stuff, but he had an album come out called The Rain. And I've known Dallas my entire career, and his records just keep getting better and better and better. And his last one, The Rain, is rocking the Texas charts. And we're going to have him on the podcast here soon because he's actually playing country concert with us in Fort Laramie, Ohio, in a couple of months. But that was one, that's a deep cut underground, something a lot of people may not know about. It's Dallas Moore, and the album's called The Rain. And then just go back from there and listen to his records.
Yeah, I think I listened to some of his stuff before that last album came out. And I mean, Duncan and we love that modern outlaw stuff. Like even just like Cody Jinks, Tyler Childers, like into that realm of
and then what about you guys? Gotta love like the prairie stuff, like the Coulter Wall and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Wall and the name just slipped me. Starts with the S that I can't think of, but yeah, that whole line. I mean, those Sturgill Simpson.
Sturgill. Oh yeah.
Man, all that stuff is just dumping on that country playlist because
yes.
We'll take it all. Obviously, we love the radio hits, but when you can get into that stuff that you don't hear every day, that's the best.
Well, that's what we used to have. We used to have DJs that played the hits, but also they just play whatever they wanted you to hear. So you could, especially like late at night or different times of the day, different channels, that's where you heard new stuff. Like us talking about it here, you didn't have this. So you heard a DJ say, hey, and also off, the new record so-and-so, everybody knows the hit, this and that, but on the number 8, track on there is this, and it's one of my favorites. And that's where you learned about it. And that's not that we don't have that. So that's what we used to have, is a way to find that. And that missing big time. But that Coulter Wall sound, I love that Western, that prairie sound that he's got going on. His last handful of records are so good.
Yeah, another one like him, actually out of Wyoming, is Ian Munsick. I don't know.
Yep.
Yeah, you've heard of him. He's coming up. I just heard of him recently. And then 2 other deep cuts I've got out of the same bloodline as Dylan Carmichael. You've got Walker Montgomery, John Michael's son. And I mean, talk about a talented
so good
there.
Yeah, only done 1 or 2 shows with him. He opened a show for us a couple years ago, and I had only met him the once briefly that day, and I think it was right when he was getting out playing those kind of bigger shows. So I don't know him well, but yeah, that's it. I didn't even think about it when we were interviewing Dylan today. Oh yeah, and your cousin happens to be an up and coming country.
Yeah, man, they're rocking it in that family. And then the one other one I had, who's actually from our hometown, he's in Nashville now. He was on The Voice a couple years ago, but Austin Jenks, I don't know if you've ever crossed paths in Nashville with him. He's been songwriting quite a bit, but he was on The Voice, I think in 2013 or 14. And
I know the name for sure.
Yeah.
I know I've heard that name for sure.
Yeah, he had already moved to Nashville at that point. We were finishing up high school, and he was a big football player for our hometown. And so he actually came back. We got to meet him
Nice.
at a football game. Hunter and I actually got to go to his wedding. And man, you talk about a guy that's got songwriting and performing potential. Austin Jenks is one that we've been pulling for a lot of years now.
Nice. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go dig into that.
Yeah, I mean, talk about just like soul stuff. I mean,
He's got a cool sound, especially for being from the Pacific Northwest. He's kind of got like that gravelly kind of southern voice, but it's kind of a mix between like a Skinnerd and then more of a modern day kind of soul country sound. And man, I listen to him as much as I can.
Gotcha. What about like Southern rock and roll stuff? Y'all listen to any of that? Y'all like Whiskey Myers, the Steelwoods, that kind of stuff?
Yeah,
yeah,
all
Whiskey
the
Myers.
above.
I mean, like Cadillac 3.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
country rock and roll. We actually we grew up on classic rock. Our dad, saw everybody's in the 70s and well, more so 80s, like 80s, 90s, but we've seen the Eagles, we've seen Journey, we saw, I mean, Fleetwood Mac even. They were making one more loop around, and so I mean, we're pretty well versed as far as that
Yeah,
goes.
I like it. We'll have to start another podcast where it's us three just talking about music. Because if we try to do a sports show, we're just going to end up talking about music. So
Right. Yeah, I got my King George shirt on. Saw
I
him in
like it.
Tacoma.
Oh,
I like it.
I've got my Garth and Boise shirt on.
Nice. Hey, I went Bama Crimson Tide today. I knew it was a sports show. I tried to sport up today as best I could.
Yeah, hey, we traded for each other on this one.
Yeah, there you go, no doubt. Well, and if we can whatever you guys want to talk about, but at some point, if you guys have in you, I wanted to see if you got what you guys knew about my Braves, because I watch, and I know Acuna's a stud. Every Twitter or Instagram thing is just him, being a freak of nature. But I haven't got to watch enough. And Justin and I talk, we do the rundown. And I know where we're sitting in the division, but I don't really know as much about our team as I would. Do you guys even know anything about my Braves?
Yeah, we try to follow up. Obviously, we focus on the Mariners quite a bit, but we try to check in with all the teams periodically and just see, what's happening. And I mean, you're right on about Acuna. I mean, you talk about just a legend in Atlanta right now. He is all the talk of baseball, not only for the Braves, but across the whole league. So he's definitely one to keep an eye on. I think if I remember right, is he the one that was just in that bad collision down the third baseline a couple days ago?
Oh, I don't know. I didn't see.
I might have to look that one up and see if it was him or not. But yeah, man, the Braves, they're looking pretty good this year. I know that they lost a couple people in off-season transactions, and that's something that we like to cover a lot, especially in between baseball season, because it's not as bad as the NBA, but people are trading around quite a bit. So yeah, Hunter, I don't know
Freddie Freeman's another one who
Yeah.
I've kept a close eye on him, man. He's having a good season. I just looked up to double check. I mean, he has 12 home runs, so that's up there in this first part of the season. I mean, 241 average. We don't know if that's good, but we're Mariners fans, so that's really good.
Not if you're Ichiro. Y'all had Ichiro all those years. That guy had a great batting average.
Yeah.
And yeah, because like I said, yeah, when I try to keep up, and the best is really, to get either my ESPN app or just scroll through Twitter, follow the teams that I like, and you're going to get an update on anything they do, and on Instagram as well. And I know every time it pulls up the Braves, it's Acuna hitting a dinger or Freddie hitting a dinger, or I think wasn't it Acuna that last week had one of those where he had 2 or 3 home runs in a game, and 2 of them might have been grand slams or something. It was like one of 2 players ever to pull that off.
Unreal statistics coming out for him.
Yeah, and he's like a Griffey type guy. He looks the part. He just looks like a prototypical baseball player.
And just quick,
Yep.
Man,
can do it all.
One way that Hunter and I actually, since we started the podcast, have tried to keep up with just Mariners news and then news around the league, because we're as far as the league goes, I think we're definitely more versed in NFL, but we've tried to learn as we've gone through the MLB. We actually got the Bleacher Report app, and you got to take some of their articles with a grain of salt, but man, they'll send you all the updates, all the current news, the transactions, and that's just been a way where we, keep kind of a side tablet going of anything that's happening across the league, any big bombs, they'll throw a dinger highlight on there, and so we love keeping up with just Bleacher Report updates and all that.
Yeah, very cool. That's probably what I should do. I should just download that and put the Braves on there and my teams. That way I'll get it, because I have them as my favorites on my ESPN app. But it's, that thing's, I love ESPN and all, but yeah, that's a lot of stuff going on there. I need a little more simplified.
Right? Yeah, kind of streamline it. Maybe you can talk to Marty for us.
Yeah, I need to. I need to get him. I'm gonna try to get him to come on next week and do a little quick sports rundown for us, since we're. I've seen another one. Every time I see him on something, he's at some super cool event somewhere doing something so awesome. But when we talk, it's just Marty from North Carolina. I promise he is just as normal and nice a guy as you'd imagine he would be.
Yeah, man, that to listen to that one was so cool, and just to hear his background, and they wanted him to be something that he wasn't, and he's like, hey, I'll walk, and they're like, no, wait, we actually want you, and he's like, well, I'm gonna be who I am out there. And I mean, straight up, you see what you get.
It worked out pretty good for him. Good thing they listened.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, that's a good idea on that. Well, thanks for that. Yeah, because like I said, I usually get more tuned in once playoffs get around. Once it starts tightening, that's just a lot of games. I usually feel that way about the NBA too. I used to watch a whole lot more NBA than I do, and now I kind of just keep up with my few players that I like. Which hopefully we're going to have more from Bama coming up. We got Colin Sexton playing for Cleveland Cavaliers, and he's coming along nicely. He's going to be a solid NBA player, hopefully an all-star sooner than later. And then Kira Lewis Jr. is playing down in New Orleans, and he's getting some big minutes this season. So hopefully they'll keep him around and build off of him. And I think Justin told me this week that Watford, off of Arkansas's team, one of their studs, it's going to be a lottery pick. They're projecting him to go to the Pelicans. So that would be cool. Then I can get Justin to buy me some tickets to go to the Pelicans games.
Yeah. Keep them
better tickets than I could get.
Yeah, we actually did a little bit of homework both for you and for Justin on the upcoming. We've got the regionals happening for softball and baseball. We know that Justin's an all-star softball coach for his U12 or U11 team.
The whole county, it seems like he coaches everything.
Man, I love listening. Last week he's just talking, he's just a dad on the field, and I think that's the coolest thing, especially being, he's not living in Nashville anymore. He's able to separate life and work a little bit and just do his thing on the field. But we did a little bit of homework for Alabama and Arkansas softball and baseball, and looks like Alabama softball number 3. I watched some super regional softball this weekend, try to catch up a little bit in the softball baseball world, and Alabama gets to play in Tuscaloosa this weekend, and baseball gets to play against South Carolina in the SEC tournament. That just kicked off yesterday, and it looks like Arkansas is opening against Georgia today, and so it looks like we've got a lot of good SEC baseball happening. Arkansas just won their second regional title, so they won the Fayetteville regional, and they're moving on to the super regional to represent Fayetteville. And I think that between all that, that's a lot of good stuff happening for both of your guys' schools.
Yeah, I know. I've got a friend that works for the baseball team, and he called me on the way home from the game yesterday. We won. We beat South Carolina yesterday to get that one. I think 9-3. A couple of nice dingers I got hitting that one, I heard. And he said early in the year we were young, but we would be good. We're going to be good, and I trust the process. But yeah, a lot of exciting stuff. And when you look, I know Justin and I talk about it, and he's more the baseball guy on our show. But when you look at the top 25 in collegiate baseball, and you see 5 SEC teams in the top 10, and 3 or 4 in the top 5, it's just like, and like Justin had said, they haven't lost a series all year, and they've been the number 1 team for 13, 14 weeks in a row, and they're only up 2 games in their division, of the West of the SEC. So
and I mean, you guys got, I mean, football, you know, on lock in the SEC, and then to see this last March Madness, how many SEC teams showed up, and now to see baseball and softball, like
I
talk about
know.
a good time to be in the Southeastern Conference.
I know. Well, and I not in soccer though. I don't guess, but I don't know. Our teams are probably pretty good in soccer. I had a listener of our podcast send in that apparently this year's collegiate national champion in soccer is the Marshall Thundering Herd, Marshall, West Virginia.
Whoa.
The
Okay,
Marshall
wow.
is the soccer champs this year. Didn't know that was going to happen, but that was there. And speaking of them and Troy and Marshall, I was going to tell our listener this, and I'll probably say it on our podcast too. But when I was at school at Troy, I pledged fraternity. I started school in 1998. Was there till about 02. And my first years, we played Marshall, and that's when they had Chad Pennington and Randy Moss.
Oh
yeah.
man, what a
And
time.
we played them in Troy and beat them. And I remember because we tore the goalpost down and everybody carried it to, you know, what, 2 miles to the bar and hung part of it up in the bar. It's still there now at the front porch in Troy.
No
But
way.
yeah, but that was them, and they were good, but we were good too. I mean, we had O.C. Emanyor was there. I had classes with O.C. and DeMarcus Ware was a freshman in '99, I believe. So we were good. And yeah, we beat Marshall with Chad Pennington and Randy Moss. And I thought about that. Marshall, that was my throwback to Marshall. But yeah, don't know about soccer. We're probably decent in that, I would assume. But yeah, the other stuff, yeah, SEC has been crushing, and it's good and bad. It's good, but also, man, you know, like in football, we consume ourselves. It's you know, and all these others, you know. But I guess it's like if you practice and play against the best all the time, you'll be ready.
Yeah. Hey, while we're on the topic of football, we did a little bit of homework on Alabama. Obviously, we're in the off season, but I mean, we're waiting for football season since the minute the Super Bowl ends. So
Yeah.
we're jonesing for it. What's your take on Bryce Young? Obviously 5-star recruit out of Modern Day out here in California out west. From what I read, looks like he's pretty solid. He's got some big shoes to replace in Mac Jones, but have you heard any discussion down there? What's the conversation like this summer?
Man, you know, I haven't. I've got a station here that I can barely pick up Paul Feinbaum on, which is disappointing. I thought moving back home I would get Paul Feinbaum anywhere, and I have one channel and it's fuzzy where I'm at. I have to be on West Beach to pick it up. Well, I have sat in my truck over there and listened to it a few times, but I'm not as up as I would be. I keep up, you know, from a distance now. I just get so involved in it. If I let myself get involved, it's almost too much. It's like what Justin is with Arkansas. Sometimes it's just too much. I'm just like, I got other things to deal with than this. But so I try to refrain. It's like having that first drink of the night, because you know after that first one's in, you know the rest are gonna keep coming, and it's all
Oh yeah.
the train is rolling once that happens. So it's kind of like with that. I try to hold off as long as I can to get too fired up about Bama stuff, because as soon as it happens, buddy, it's like Clark Kent. You know, I go to the phone booth looking normal, and then I come out, I'm full Bama gear, head to toe, face painted, you know, the whole deal, the music, I got the drums going. So no, I haven't as much, but what I do know is there's obviously a lot of potential there, and they got high hopes for him. And the few clips I've seen, yeah, another one looks like a freak, looks like he can do it all. And I know they've got a couple of others lined up as well that are looking good. And you know, it's kind of like the one time I almost questioned Saban when he put in Tua against Georgia, and everybody's texting me like, what can you believe it? I'm like, y'all, let's let the master see what the master's gonna do. And obviously it worked out. So I don't even question it. I'm just like, whatever Saban does and his coaching staff and the person and the AD and everybody comes up with, I'm sure will be the right decision, whichever direction they go. And you know, I keep up with some people who get recruited from the area I'm in. And around here, and people I know from certain areas, and it looks like business as usual. I mean, just studs, both sides of the ball. But that's most SEC teams are doing the same thing. You know, we're just slightly edging most of the LSUs and Floridas and Arkansas and, you know, Mississippi States and Ole Misses. And I mean, there's just, you know, the Georgias. And then we got Auburn. We've got a little brother down the road that, you know, always give us trouble.
Right. Yeah. We were actually gonna One of our best buddies, will give him a little shout out. He's the biggest sports guy we know, but he's a 2-time graduate from LSU. He grew up in Baton Rouge.
Nice.
And we were going to go down and catch the Bama LSU game this last fall. And, you know, they didn't have fans back and everything, but we definitely took a rain check on that. We're going to make that happen because we figure if we're down south, if we're in SEC country, we're going to see two of the best teams play each other.
Oh yeah, for sure. And there's and you know, and people want, especially my LSU buddies, because my wife's from South Louisiana, and I've got a bunch of friends from down there, and they always want to get me to argue and fight with them about, you know, want me to hate them, and I'm like, guys, I don't hate LSU. I know y'all want to be our rival, and you want me to hate you guys, but I don't hate y'all. I just don't hate y'all that much. Justin doesn't like LSU very much. That's known. I don't hate LSU. Our rivals are Auburn and Tennessee. And, and if I had to pick between the other SEC schools over my lifetime, I'd probably pick Florida as the one that's been a thorn in my side more than any of them. LSU has obviously been very good, but I just don't hate LSU. I always like I like the culture. New Orleans is my favorite big city. You know, hell, I live there. My wife's from there. But I don't pull for them necessarily either. And, you know, unless out of it, I pull for all SEC teams when they're playing non-conference. So I don't hate LSU, and I say that to say this: there are not many party towns and fun places to go as there are in Death Valley for a ball game. I promise you. And Tuscaloosa, Bryant Denny. I mean, the history. You know, it's just that's my jam. But I have partied in Baton Rouge, and that is a good time on a Saturday night.
Man, yeah, our buddy's name is Joey, and he, like I said, he could chop it up for hours and hours. He told us about the LSU tailgates, but what's it like in Tuscaloosa?
Same. I mean, most SEC schools, it is same. It's rowdy, man. It's huge. It just sprawls for miles. You know, it's, I mean, saw a lizard crawl down the wall of my studio here. We have a lot of geckos.
Yeah, we don't have those around here.
We have a lot of geckos. And it's like, I want to go smash him, but I'm also like, well, he's just eating the bugs, that, you know, the mosquitoes I don't want to get me. So hang out. Just don't let my wife know you're in here, because then she's going to make me exterminate. But yeah, no, same. It's just you know, bands playing. All the fraternity houses have bands playing on the porch. You know, I mean, it's just, I mean, the stadium holds 100,000, and there's another couple of hundred hanging out in town, and the town's not that big to start with. I mean, Tuscaloosa, especially, Baton Rouge is a little bigger. It's the state capital, but Tuscaloosa is not a big town. It's, you know, 40 miles west of Birmingham. And it's just, you know, it's basically that, you know, on the river there. Beautiful town, but yeah, just party. Same as like Troy, even though, you know, being a smaller school, Troy was D1 or D2 when I started there. Went D1 while I was in school, and beat Mississippi State our first year, Division I too.
Whoa.
In Starkville, there was some tornadoes and stuff, had to evacuate the stadium, this and that, but however it worked out, we beat Mississippi State. We got an SEC win our first year in. Yeah. But even at Troy, you know, tailgating, you know, party in the South, you know, it's it's big time for us, because there's, going back to, there's not pro teams there. Everybody's not waiting on Sunday, because everybody doesn't get to go, you know, an hour or two away to a pro game on a Sunday, or that it doesn't split the crowd up. You know, everybody's down here is hyped on Saturdays, you know, for those games, and Thursdays, you know, if we have Thursday games. But yeah, it's electric, man. It's a good time. I hate, you know, that last year went the way it did, and for obvious reasons, but that getting everybody back together, that tailgate, that game day atmosphere, you know, football just gets even more hype when they're on game day, kicks off, and the crowd's behind you with the signs and the hats, and Corso picks his. I mean, just the whole thing. And yeah, the SEC schools definitely bring the heat when it comes to tailgating. What about you? Yeah. What about Boise State? I obviously hadn't been there. I'm sure it's rowdy too. It's you know,
it's a cool college town.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you can ever get the chance to get up here, you know, if we actually play UCF, I think this fall. So they're kind of trying to do a best of the group of 5 schools. But man, I mean, we're definitely
we got another big one, Oklahoma State on the blue this year too.
Yeah. Cowboys. Battle of the Broncos and the Cowboys.
I know. It's quite the environment up here, man. I mean, it's the same. We don't have a pro team. The closest pro teams, either the Seahawks or the Broncos down in Denver. So
how far are you from Denver? How far is Denver?
Driving, it's about 10 to 12 hours, I think.
Oh, geez.
So Yeah,
I was
we've
gonna say
got.
you guys could come see me in Colorado Springs this weekend, but that's a little, that'd be a little far.
Yeah, I definitely want to. Yeah, but I mean, that's one of those things that people are out there at 9, 10 a.m. as soon as they can be and we get stuck with the, 8 p.m. ESPN games just to get on the national scale. But
Right.
man, you talk about there's blue and orange RVs all over the town. It's a college town, even though it's the capital city. It's kind of one of those big small towns. You've got diehards who have had season tickets for 50 years and they're never going to give them up. So
Right.
we're obviously not the SEC, but I'd say as far as, a dedicated fan base goes, it's a good time up here when tailgate season starts.
I bet everybody grilling, drinking, watching the other games, just the
Oh
whole thing.
yeah. It's a pretty sweet setup.
I bet.
Yeah.
I bet. And yeah, not having that competition close with the pro teams, everybody just even more. That's kind of like Baton Rouge. You'll that'd probably be similar because it's kind of the same way. It's the state capital, but it's not that big. It's like a college town mixed with it. But yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, it's a really unique, it's a fun city. And I mean, I think the stadium capacity is like 38,000, and I mean, you would think it was 100,000
Right.
on some of these.
I remember when I first started at Troy. I don't remember what the stadium held, but it's obviously expanded exponentially since then. The whole campus has since I was at school. But I can remember it was back then. You just showed your student ID to go in. Like you didn't get your ticket. You just showed your student
Wow.
ID. You didn't swipe it or nothing. You just showed your student ID. So like what we would do is go walk by the fence, and it was like a picket fence, like iron rods. So you take you a couple of big drinks and sit them right on the outside of the fence, and you show your student ID. And you go right around the fence, stick your hands through, bring your drinks in, and go. And it's changed since then. But they got the sky boxes and this and that. But it was small then. But it was still same thing. I can remember then thinking, man, it felt like the craziest, felt like 100,000 people there, and it wasn't probably 12 back then or 15.
Yeah.
I don't even know.
Yeah, that's just a special feeling. We wanted to
Hey, wait, I want to do one thing before you get out of there too.
Yeah.
You said you guys are going to play UCL. This would be a cool fun fact. You say UCF, that's Gus Malzahn, right?
Yeah.
So I've got a buddy who actually works for Coach Malzahn, and this ties back into football. His name is SJ Tui, and he is the movie The Blind Side.
Oh yeah, SJ.
Yes, SJ in real life is Malzahn's assistant at UCF. He was under Chad Morris at Arkansas, and then he was at Liberty University under Freeze, and now he is in UCF. We just talked a week or so ago, so I want to give him a shout out. And I'll try to hook you guys up when he gets up there, do that game. But he's a dear friend, known him for a long time, and a good guy. But that would be a good one too, because they're kind of the same. UCF, like, because he was telling me, they've got a really good team. He said they got a good quarterback, this and that. They're Muss is a really good coach as far as coaching up the players, real pro, a lot of work ethic in it. And they'll be there. And Boise's the same kind of school just out west. They're in the heat of it, and they're good record and good talent and this and that, just right on the cusp. So that'll be cool that you guys are playing other top tier, out of the five talent like that. That'll be a good game.
It'll be a fun one. And we just lost Coach Harsin to Auburn, so he's right in your backyard now. But we're excited for the next era that we've got coming. He was our former defensive coordinator, and then he went to Oregon for a couple years, but he's leading the charge now, and we're excited for him.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I'll make sure to tell Coach Saban and them to put a little extra thumping on Auburn.
You
stealing your coach. I shouldn't say that because they'll end up beating us this year. Because I'm like you guys. I know you guys were talking recently about everything you say goes the opposite of what actually happens. I'm like y'all. I'm like, no, they're going to beat us. Justin's always like, why are you so humble? You're too humble to be an Alabama fan. I'm like, because if I say we're going to beat somebody, they're going to end up beating us. So I'm just going to say everybody's better than us. Just we're not going to win anything, and then maybe we'll do the opposite of what I predict. That's usually the way it works out. So
that's what we found to work. Well, it worked for one out of the two, but the Mariners got no hit twice in 14 days, and it was almost 3 times. We were 6 outs away from a third no hit in 2 weeks.
Gotta wake them bats up, boys. Gotta get the bats woke. We would do something like that in high school. I'd get a trash can and put all the bats in it and take them out there and throw the bat. Wake up! Try to wake the bats up when we'd have bad days. I played baseball. I played all baseball, basketball, football, everything through high school. And I was never a great baseball player, but I was always on the team. You know, I was always like our fourth string first baseman, but I was friends with everybody. And I was like an extension of the coaches. They'd call me coach, you know, I'd keep the books and stuff, but that was one of my jobs sometimes to wake the bats up. So maybe I need to fly up to Seattle and get y'all's bats woke up. You're threatening 3 no-hitters in a week, guys. Come on.
Man,
Somebody over there needs a Red Bull.
Yeah, I think they need quite a few.
or a Starbucks. Sorry, y'all are Starbucks land over there.
Right.
Yeah, some cold brew maybe.
Yeah, double something. Anyway, I cut you off earlier, brother. Sorry about that.
No, I mean, we love stories and personal connections, and I mean,
yeah, I thought the SEC thing, you know, Ole Miss, the whole little, and now he's coming to where you guys are at, you know.
Yeah, we're here for that all day. We just wanted to hear you said you had a story, something came up on Tuesday, and we always love a good story.
Yeah, well, it was a lot less eventful than I thought it would be. I actually had was supposed to be 4:00 yesterday. One of the founding owners, the founding father of the Floribama, a bar I talk about that's on the Alabama-Florida line. It's a big bar, been there since the 60s, and you know it's one of the top 10 beach bars in the world every year and all that. And it's really just a 5-star little honky tonk down the road, you know, but it's where I cut my teeth coming up with the guy, Wayne Mills, I first started working for when I first got in the music business. God rest my brother, legend Wayne Mills. But that was some of the first big gigs we ever did, was playing on the beach for spring break or, you know, 4th of July or something, be thousands of people out there. So it's this little honky tonk down the road, but it's grown over the years. It's huge. It's a destination, you know, people bucket list to go there and have a bushwhacker and, you know, hear a band or whatever. So one of the owners though, Joe, who I've known since I first ever went there, and he's so cool, wanted to have a meeting with all the production team, you know, and this and that. And some of the guys, you know, were kind of like, what's it about? You know, what would we got to go, this and that. So me being I didn't even really need to be there, but I was like, well, I'm going, and y'all that don't go be ashamed of yourselves or something. So then everybody's like, oh yeah, I'm going. I mean, I'm going. So I kind of was just going to get everybody else to go, kind of deal. But I love Joe, and I wanted to hear what he had to say and this and that. But it was, I thought it was going to be a long, you know, a private thing, and tell some stories and this and that and some insightful stuff. And it was cool. We had a great meeting, but it wasn't as eventful as I thought. We did get some cool stories, and we got to catch up on just, you know, monotonous production type stuff, what we can do to better some production stuff, because it's going to be a big old year down here. Vacationing is just exploding. I mean, we're busting at the seams already, and the summer is just now starting. And I saying on our podcast, anybody wants to go on a vacation down here, you better go ahead and book something, because it looks like it's booked up for a while. And so we had a meeting and talked about that, and he moved the time to 12 after I told you guys we could jump on at 1. So I just didn't want to have to rush either one, and make sure we had plenty of time. And so we shout out Joe Gilchrist and all the owners at the Floribama. Thanks for lunch yesterday. It was a good talk, and it was good catching up with Joe. Yeah, he was. I did get a few cool stories. Some I kind of knew, but there's a guy, a songwriter, older gentleman that's still around down here named Bo Roberts, and I knew he wrote some big songs. I knew he'd done some stuff with Hank Jr. back in the day, but then I got to talking to Joe, and yeah, he was Hank Jr.'s band leader for several years back back before Jeff Beck came to take it over in the 80s and 90s and stuff, or 80s, and some stories he had about that, and then just you know, Jimmy Hall from Wet Willie, being classic rock guy. You know, heard the band Wet Willie. They had to keep on smiling, got to keep on smiling.
Yeah.
Well, that band's from Mobile, Alabama. Wet Willie's originally from Mobile, Alabama. And Jimmy Hall has been band leader for Hank Jr. for like last 20 years, plays harmonica in his band, has been his band leader, and also leads Jeff Beck's band. Jeff Beck, the legendary guitar player. That's the two outfits he runs. And he's the harmonica lead singer, front man for Wet Willie, legend, but that's what he does now. But anyway, Joe was telling me their whole family used to come down because his sister Donna Hall, I think she sang with the Dead, maybe. And anyway, bunch of musical people in there, and he was telling me about how all that came about and them being down here during the heyday of Wet Willie in the 70s. And then he was telling me about, you know, them having bonfires on the beach and this kind of stuff. And it's now with all the condos and things, them driving dune buggies and stuff through the dunes and all, now, but
Wow.
it wasn't that long ago. That was the way down here. So wasn't too crazy of a story, but it was a good time to get to hang with a legend like Joe Gilchrist from the floor of Bama. But no, it wasn't anything too crazy. But it was
Man,
cool.
that's awesome though. It's always good to catch up on connections like that, and obviously a place that means so much to you. It's not, necessarily how big or how fancy it is, but it's the memories that it holds, and
Oh yeah.
it's the things that make it what it is. And obviously, yeah, I mean, we've never been there, but we've heard a ton about it, just being fans of the music industry. And of course it's a bucket list for artists, but of course someone like us too who just loves to attend concerts. I know I want to go there. I've always wanted to go to Billy Bob's, so we've definitely
Yeah.
got some venue bucket list. Red Rocks too, which is in Colorado. That's another one on my bucket list.
Yeah, and like the Floribama, since I started going back there helping running sound, working on the production team last year when we got shut down, and one of the first acts I ran sound for one of the days on one of the beach stages for hardly anybody there was Trey Lewis, who ended up having a big viral song this past year and is
Oh,
out selling
yeah.
out clubs everywhere. He played on the beach that day to 10 people,
Man.
and
Wow.
then the next day was Ella Langley and Joy Beth Taylor,
Wow.
and then like Job Fortner was the next week, and I mean it's just like and uh, Clay Barker, who else was
Wow.
on? I mean, it's just like it seemed like I wasn't there long. Ben Chapman, big time songwriter guy, just
Oh,
like I said.
yeah.
Taylor Honeycutt was just recently there. And then hell, Justin, we played acoustic at the tent a couple of months ago on a Sunday during spring break on our way back from doing something. Riley, that's where I first met Riley Green.
Yeah, I've heard him talk about it.
Yeah, I was down there a couple months ago. John Party's new video, Tequila Little Time.
Oh, yeah.
I made a little cameo in the very beginning of that. Me and Cowboy got our little shot on the pier. But that was across the street at the Old River Grill, which is part of the Floribama properties. That was
Oh,
there.
wow.
So a lot goes on at this little place. And, when I first got down there, it's like a retired haven for a lot of old songwriters. That was where I first met like Dean Dillon, but before that, like people like Mickey Newberry and Larry John Wilson, some of these guys, once they left Nashville, they went down there to the coast and, just retired down there, like songwriter type deal. And I mean, I talked to Mark Sherrill every week. He wrote Old Red for Blake Shelton back in the day. And he's amongst 100 other big time country hits he's had over the years. But, you just saw Rhonda Hart while I was eating lunch there the other day. Dina Carter's Did I Shave My Legs for This? That's who wrote that, I mean, so it's a cool place, and it's got a vibe and a history, and I definitely think everybody should stop by there at some point and check it out. And yeah, because you just never know who you're going to see. I mean, like I said, I didn't know this time last year, I didn't even know Trey or Ella or Joy Beth, and then because I didn't realize they were bringing in that kind of. We always had great talent, but it wasn't always like people who were necessarily doing more mainstream type stuff that was going to, be on that kind of level. It was more Americana, more classic rock, Southern rock, obscure country type stuff, and regional touring acts. And then, I guess, as everything expands and gets bigger, and so they started doing stuff with some of these people. But it turns out Trey, Ella, and Joy Beth are all from Alabama. So they were doing it. So they did it the right way. Same thing with my guy Wayne. Wayne was already fairly established. It would have been the same exact thing. It's just, I'm glad to see they're doing that, but was pleasantly surprised in the heat they were bringing in as far as talent, because it had always been good, but it had another layer to it. And and then a year later, I'm like, hell, I'm keeping up with these people on socials. They're writing hit songs. Trey's had a big old hit, and obviously Riley's had a career built starting right there on the tent, playing acoustic by himself 5 years ago or whatever. Or longer than that now. But yeah, definitely somewhere everybody should check out. And it's when they do special concerts on the beach, they just set a stage up on the beach. That's really cool. Justin's done that. I know Chesney's done it. Riley's done it. That's always a cool thing. They only do it once or twice a year, but yeah, so definitely always good to go back. And everybody's got their home bar. That's where I cut my teeth. That's where, when I think about, if I had to just go one place to sit and drink a beer, and that'd be it. That'd be my one. There, go downstairs and get some oysters.
Love that.
Yeah, it sounds like an awesome place to go. And just a quick note on Florida and songwriters. listening to that one episode when Justin and you were talking about Casey Beathard and DLM, and you guys were at his place in Destin, Florida. That just sounds like the coolest place. But talk about a couple of legendary songwriters.
Oh yeah. Yeah. David Lee, I mean, that's one of the things that gets, like, I've only had 2 people to sign my cowboy hat that I wear on stage, and it was Tracy Lawrence. I mean, I had to, legend. And DLM. And, because you think about those songwriters and how cool, like, there's nobody cooler than David Lee Murphy. I mean, as far as swag, he's got it. And, and getting to hang out with some of those guys, I'm all, I used to be like, I can't believe I'm here. Now I'm just, I gotta act cool, because if I act too starstruck, they're going to be weird around me. So I have to be cool. So I have to just act like it's no big deal. But in my mind, y'all know I'm like, hell, this David Lee Murphy dust on a bottle, hanging out, asking me to pass him the mustard or whatever. You know what I mean? I'm like, so yeah, I mean, and we rode the bus one time, Dean Dillon on the bus with us for a whole week one time.
Wow.
I'm sleeping across the hall. I'm sleeping across the little hallway on the bus, bunk to bunk with Dean Dillon. Every day we're going to breakfast, me and Dean Dillon going to breakfast. It's just, so yeah, you just never know. And there's so many good ones, like those right there. You mentioned Casey. I mean, good gracious, DLM. Red Akins. I mean, Justin and his producer Stover, they've twinkled out magic over the years.
Up to that point when you guys had Rhett on, that was my favorite episode. Listening to him talk, I wanted hours of that.
That things like that are what we started the podcast for.
Right.
That's what. And the thing is, though, there's so much stuff that you can't really talk about, because you don't want to implement anybody else in your story, and the things were different certain times, and people don't do things they used to do, or it might not sound as funny as we think it is that so and so did this. Everybody might not think it's too funny, so some of them don't get to, but there's so many good ones out there. And yeah, he could do it. Rhett's got a photographic memory. He can tell you everything he's ever done, where he was at, and has just stories for days. We're going to have him back on for sure. A lot of people have said they enjoyed those Reddo stories.
Oh yeah. Probably one of my top 3 that you guys have done out of, 50, and talking about Hank Jr. and just recapping all that stuff, and that's just incredible.
yeah, he did it. He was there, the Hank Jr. stories, there are some good ones there, buddy, for sure.
Man, that episode had us rolling for sure. I know we were just loving on those stories. And I mean, you get someone like that who's just been around the industry for so long, it's bound to come out at some point.
No doubt.
The one story that about the I drink Beam, brother.
That's true. Yeah, that was Jeremy Stover, actually. That's Stover. That's Justin's producer, and that really happened. I've got Jeremy to tell me that story so many times. But yeah, I drink Beam, brother. And you think about that. You go to the bar, Hank Jr. is going to do a shot with you.
Right.
It's about to happen. We're doing a shot. He got up and walked with me to the bar. We're about to do a shot. Bartender looks at you. What do y'all have? 2 shots of Jack. I drink Beam, brother. And turn around and leaves. You just blew your chance to do a shot. I mean, but I've been there. I mean, it happens.
Well, you talk about a default. You can't go wrong with Jack. It's the standard across the board. But then, it's
But being a Bo Cephas fan, I mean, he was sponsored by Beam back then. He had the Jim Beam boots. I mean, you kind of walked into that one. But I get it. I told y'all heard me telling the story that's similar to that about me telling the joke to Ron White at the time. Me and Party are backstage at Ron White's show.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there's a big cloud of smoke in there, and the building was not on fire. And he's I don't know why I was compelled to say that the funniest joke, just to retell him a joke he had heard, that he had told, or I thought he had told, because knowing no comedian wants to hear that, like no musician wants to hear you sing their song back to them. And I'm like, the one I heard had me laughing, and I told the joke, and he goes, that was the opener. And I'm just like, he's like, yeah, crawfish your way out of that one. And I was like,
Yeah, right.
And he looks at Party and goes, is he fired yet? And I'm like, oh, sorry. And at this point, I'm a little debilitated by the surroundings and can't really defend myself very well. So I'm like, oh,
You're like, oh
you know,
man.
yeah, I'm like, what a dumbass I am. So, so anyway, it happens. But yeah, drink beam, brother. I get that. People will text me that just randomly every now and then. I guess they go back and listen to that episode.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
We're
that's
definitely gonna have to have him back on, and I want to do a full one with David Lee Murphy too. I want to get a longer one with Dave at some point.
Oh, I
man,
bet
that'd be
the
so cool.
songwriting stories and everything he has.
And there's songs you would, and then because if you go watch him play live, you won't realize the songs he wrote that you thought somebody else wrote, but that were his, and you're like, oh, he wrote that. Oh my God, yeah. And I think that's going to be the next evolution of the podcast is doing it on the road. We're going to build a road case to take with us so we can do it from the bus because, you know, we've done it through Zoom the whole time, and not having good internet has been the biggest trouble because, you know, because we record our audio and video separately, we don't use our Zoom video and audio very often. We use it for the guests, but we have to upload all that stuff to Cody, our producer, and because obviously neither one of us is quick enough to know how to cut this up, make it sound worth a lick. But so the internet, getting it to them, it may take me 4, 5, 6 hours sometime to get my 16 gigs up, but then Justin getting his up may take 2 days. I mean, literally. So we're at the mercy. Wow. We're literally at the mercy of their internet, you know. And he's got as good as he can get. He just lives way out in the country. I mean, even where I live, it's not as rural, but our internet's spotty here too. That's why I shout out Elon Musk. I'm in Tesla. I've already got ordered. I put my deposit down for the Starlink internet, satellite internet. So later this year, we're remedying that problem.
You don't have to run a 500-foot Cat 5 out the window.
Yeah. I was gonna bury it in the yard anyway. It's so crazy, so ridiculous. You ought to see how redneck he is. Got a wedge at the screen door so I can run it through. It's so ridiculous.
Well, after one time you guys said you like posted a picture of what your setups look like, and ours are exactly the same. We got the mic popped up, we got the light back here.
Just stuff stacked on top of stuff. We got it a little better now when we're at home, but we're going to build something for the road. And I think that's going to be it. We'll be able to get guests when we're on the road and more in story mode. And hopefully it should be easier in some regards because I'll be able to take all this and put it on a file and send it to Cody, and I'll have a hardline internet every day we're at a show in my production office, wherever it is. So I think we'll be able to do it, and we'll be able to do it from some cool places. You know, like that one we did with Rhett was in Justin, it was actually in Jeremy Stover's studio at his office. So that was cool to do it in a different setting. And then, you know, we do it at Justin's house sometimes, or things like that. So I look forward to doing it on location. Think about, like, say we're at the Gorge or something, and we can set up that afternoon, and somebody's on the bill, you know, somebody's playing with us that day, say, I don't know, whoever, Dina Carter, we just mentioned a minute ago. Dina Carter's playing on the show with us that day, and we get her to come on, you know, during the day while we're having drinks and hanging out outside the bus. Cool, you know, view. So I think that'll be the next evolution, is doing it together more like we did Rhett. And it's easier too. Like, we've got a good connection today. This has been fine. Justin and I never have this good a connection.
Yeah.
Ours is chopped up, and I'm waiting. And I'm like, well, I guess he's quit talking. So I start talking, and then it catches up. No, he's still talking. It was just lag. It's like, whoops, we're jumbled over each other. Sorry, buddy. And it makes it tough, you know, because you don't know when to go, when to stop, when they're waiting on you to respond, or when you need to add, you know. So doing it the hardest way, hopefully it'll get easier, and we'll be able to be more efficient with it once we're together.
Yeah, you definitely get more into that story mode. I mean, even Hunter and I lived together until he moved back to Seattle area, and I mean, we've been lucky that obviously we're twins, so we've got a good rapport. But you know, being on the couch together recording, you know, in our basement back home, it's just a lot different when you're able to sit there and do it together. So definitely feel that. But I mean, other than that one hiccup that you guys had where, you know, neither of you could get anything going, it was about halfway through the year. I think you guys have been pretty spot on since then. Well, as far as listeners can tell. So
yeah, there's the magic that happens. I was just trying to look and see if you guys got something else, y'all can go to that. I was just going to look at our schedule real quick and see when we are going to be anywhere close to either one of you guys.
Well, you said Colorado Springs. I'm actually driving down to Boise tomorrow, and then so I'll be with Duncan tomorrow. I mean, We can make the push for it.
Hey, if you guys want to go, I got tickets, but that's, I mean, hell, that's a long ways. I'm sure we'll be closer soon. We got
Yeah.
Park City, Utah.
Oh yeah,
Oh.
that's closer.
Is that closer?
That's like less than 5 hours from Boise.
That's in July. That's July 24th. Looks like we're in Park City, which is,
Oh,
I hadn't
wow.
been to Park City in years. I used to go up there for Sundance Film Festival for several years in a row. I had a buddy that lived in Logan, Utah.
Oh, yeah.
So at Utah State University.
Yep.
His now ex-wife was one of the athletic trainers there, and we would go up there and stay with him, and then we go to Park City for a few days and stay during Sundance and party. This was my early days when I worked for Wayne. Man, I'd fly out there, have my cowboy boots on the plane, shined up, buddy. Thought I was cool, couldn't wait, rock star. I'd get up there and bullshit my way into some of these Sundance Film Festival parties and premieres and bars and stuff, pulling this Nashville card that I didn't really own. It was a trip. But that's it, late in July. And then a bunch of California stuff. Eugene, Oregon.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, anything on the West Coast, it's whether it's a quick 8-hour drive or a quick 1-hour plane ride, not too bad.
Yeah, Eugene, Oregon, Redding, California, which is Northern Cal. That's in August.
Nice.
Bismarck, North Dakota. That's probably the other direction.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Eugene's not too bad. You said that was in August.
Yeah, Eugene, Oregon in August. We're doing Redding, California, then Eugene the next night.
Yeah, we'll have to keep an eye on your guys' tour and
then
whatever.
Missoula, Montana on the end of that run.
Oh, there you go.
That's
Missoula's
awesome.
close.
Yeah,
Missoula is.
Yeah, we've been to Missoula quite a bit. We've done some shooting competitions there.
Nice.
Yeah,
that'd be a good one because that's that amphitheater, the brewery's amphitheater there.
Oh yeah,
that's right. We haven't
Big
seen
Sky Brewer or whatever it is there.
Yeah,
I think Brad Paisley and Riley Green played there a couple of years ago.
Yeah, it's I don't have it in here on this. Of course, it's not pulling up. But yeah, that's a cool spot. That's that'd be a good one to come to for sure. They give us a bunch of free beer.
Whenever we can, yeah, we'd buy you at least one round, but hopefully some more. But yeah, whenever we can get both Hunter and I in one spot at one of your shows, we'll definitely be in touch so we can hook up and hopefully meet face to face, especially as they're opening up.
Yeah, you guys can we'll do we'll bring something. You guys bring something. We'll do a podcast for you guys remote from wherever we're at, backstage by the bus or something. We'll get Justin to pop on.
Yeah,
that'd be awesome.
Yeah, that'd be sweet.
It's easy to say right now, but honestly, Justin Moore has been probably one of our top 3 favorite country artists. I mean, he just has always kept it real. He's always kept it country. You guys said, I think one time, bend but not break, and just to listen to his stuff. I mean, one of our favorite songs just growing up was Small Town USA, because we're right outside of Seattle, but I mean, not small like Justin, but I mean, we were less than 6,000. So being that close to Seattle, that was small for us.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But yeah, we just felt that. I mean, we have
Small Town USA is more of a state of mind than an actual location, I think.
Yes,
right.
Yeah. Well, we know that we've taken plenty of your time, probably more than you ever planned on giving us. But one thing that we wanted to make sure that we did, and then we'll make sure that you tell everybody where they can find the Justin Moore podcast. But Hunter and I love every guest that you have on, where you go through their number one song from the day that they were born. And Hunter did a little bit of research, and the number one song on October 15th, 1996, number one song in the country was actually the Macarena. So we got that one going for
So wait,
us.
let me try to guess the country one. Y'all have the country one pulled up?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so this is October of 96.
Yes.
Yep.
Wow. All right. I'm
Which
gonna need
is-
a little hint.
It's
I have a good hint. It's not Garth.
Okay. Is it a duo?
It's not a duo. It's someone who's fairly close to Garth.
Trisha?
Yeah, my hint was gonna be a power couple. So.
Yeah, one half of a power couple. Yeah,
Yeah.
Miss Yearwood is G calls her.
Yeah, he's Mr.
Garth.
Yearwood.
Yeah, Garth. I mean, God bless him. He sold a gajillion records, and I know everybody loves Garth. I like Garth's okay with me, but I ain't no huge Garth fan. It's all right. I mean, I don't have no disrespect to him at all. They've never been nothing but nice to, but I like Trisha's stuff. I say that to say that I love me some Miss Yearwood's.
Oh
too.
yeah.
What was the song? What was the song that week?
It was "Believe Me, Baby" by Trisha Yearwood. I think that was. There's something in parentheses there too. I'd have to look that up.
Yeah, I remember that hit. Yeah, she had some. Yeah, she had still was a great vocalist. I mean, just
Oh
and just
yeah,
crushing it. I mean, in late 90s.
Yep.
I mean, that's funny enough that like we weren't old enough to listen, but that's what we listen to now.
yeah.
Right. Yeah, that was like me. Most of the stuff I listen to is the 60s and 70s, and I'm like, I was born in 79. It's not.
Oh
That,
yeah.
I'm not that old, you know. But and then the 90s, you know, you think about that. The 96, I would have been in like 9th or 10th grade. You know, I really, be honest, wasn't listening to a whole lot of country right then. I was listening to the Boot Scoot Boogie stuff because we go to heart at that point. Country line dancing was big.
Oh yeah.
So get a close dance with a girl, I need to know some country. I knew some country, and but that so I didn't know as deep as 90s stuff as I know, like obviously I know all the major hits. You know, I was a big George Strait fan then and stuff, but I wasn't just huge country. I was listening to a lot of rap then. I mean, a lot of R&B.
Yeah, that was a big rise of Run DMC and all that.
Dude, the 90s, that was Snoop Dogg and Dre and Biggie and Tupac. I mean, it was a change, and still rock bands were still big then too. You still had Guns N' Roses and a bunch of big rock bands putting out huge albums.
I was gonna say, yeah, we saw Guns N' Roses a couple of years ago where the Seahawks play.
Oh wow. What's that Met
It just changed. It was CenturyLink. Now
CenturyLink.
It's Lumen Field, I think.
Oh, I got you. And who cares?
Yeah,
Seahawks
right.
Stadium.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, I was listening to country, but I wasn't just knee deep in it. So yeah, I remember that song, but about that same time also was about the time I ended up on a dirt road. Somebody handed me a bottle of brown liquor and somebody put on a Hank Jr. record. And then it was definitely Bo Cephas time for a long, still is some weekends, but for a long time. But I always liked those, the 90s guys, like we had Tracy Lawrence on and Clint Black. And so, I mean, some of those, we had Travis Tritt. I mean, those songs are so good, like the David Lee Murphy, like Dust on a Bottle, like that kind of stuff. It's just, they'll never, they're too good. No matter what kind of music you like, they're good. You play those for anybody who likes good music, they should like those.
Yeah, well, and that's why you see, even the Luke Combs of today, who obviously are huge superstars, all the sounds, the backgrounds, the lyrics, it all goes back to 90s. And of course, he's collaborating with Brooks and Dunn. And I mean, the first song that we remember hearing is Where I Come From by Alan Jackson. And we grew up on the words of Shania and Faith Hill. And, we had all the 90s. My favorite song to this day is still Red Dirt Road by Brooks and Dunn. I mean, you get those songs in the 90s. Yeah, we were, the later part of the decade, but that stuff will live on forever.
Yeah, that's what I was going to guess. That's why I asked duo. Was it a Brooks and Dunn tune? Because they had some good ones, buddy. And speaking of, his similar vocal range as Ronnie Dunn, our boy Randy Houser, he still has that sound, that Ronnie Dunn, that big old country sound. But yeah, a lot of people, and it's just a matter of time. It's like anything, it goes around. Pop stuff comes and goes, but the main line of country music and most forms of all music stay the same, whether it be rock or hip hop or country or jazz or any of that. Whoever's making it at the time, there's always going to be these fluctuation of what, I guess not subgenres, but just versions of that genre that do this and that. But then there's always the main line, the heartbeat of each genre. And that's the stuff that always stays. Some stuff comes and goes. There'll be a new type of production technique they use on vocals, whether it be the thing that kills me is the pitch correction tuner thing that all the R&B and rapper guys have done lately.
Oh, yeah.
I know some country guys have done it too. That whole thing, and I'm just like, a little spot of it here and there for effect is okay, but the whole thing, I'm like, I just don't. It doesn't work for me. It doesn't resonate sonically inside my inner ear. That's not saying it doesn't work, because obviously a gajillion people buy it, but it doesn't sonically work for me. But there's those things in there that don't come and go. There's not a, like with country, there was listening to Cocaine and Rhinestones podcast and talking about the Nashville sound recently, with the string section and the vocal choruses and stuff. And that stuff you don't hear all that anymore, but you still hear stuff in that you still hear in Justin and Luke and everybody who's making records now.
Right.
You still hear certain things in there that don't change. And the different things that change, whether it be the drum loop or the whatever somebody's trying to do for this, 4 or 5 year window that certain tricks work. Still got to have that main stuff. And that's why a lot of people go back to that. That's why the people in the 90s went back to, they called that the neoclassical country, or neo-traditional country. I can't remember exactly, but that was basically them trying to go back to what they liked, which was the 60s and 70s, George Jones, Waylon and Merle Haggard type stuff. So same thing, that stuff transitioned into theirs. Might have been some more hot lick guitars that weren't in that George Jones sound, but there's this sound that's still in there,
right.
So
well, and at the basis of it, to your point of stuff staying the same, you see guys, prop their phone up to put a video on Instagram and it's just them and a guitar, and that's when push comes to shove, we're gonna find out if you're country or not, because you don't have any filter, you don't have nothing.
well, like you mentioned earlier about Justin just whipping out a song here and there. It's like, if you ever wondered if the old boy's really like, using a bunch of tricks in the studio, that proves right there. No, he just can go at any point, and that's like you said, is someone really, if Morgan or Luke or one of those guys holds their phone, or Riley puts their phone up and records them in their, guest bedroom or home studio or whatever they're at, garage. And you can't deny with just a guy in an acoustic if it's country or not. You can't fake that,
Yeah,
you just can't.
I mean, man, we eat that stuff up as just huge fans. And even great example that just went full circle, Thomas Rhett, he's getting back to his roots with the pandemic. He came out with all those on acoustic versions and just dropped his new album because he's like, hey, I'm actually country again. We're getting back to the roots, and you can't beat a guy with his guitar, and that's where you find yourself again. I just love that.
Yeah, it's good. So like, what's the song? Gone Country. He's TR. I remember one of the first tours I worked for Justin. TR was support on that. And I remember thinking, he's on the right path here. And then to see that mediocre. I'm losing my word. Y'all know what I mean? That's that rock. They shoved a rocket up his ass for sure, and he blew up and infringed on the pop world. But man, it just exposed country to more people. Whether, like I said, whether it sonically resonates with me. Am I going to listen to some of those records, late at night while I'm drinking bourbon? Probably not. But a bunch of people like the record, so that's what I bought the last Hank Jr. record. I'm sure there's less of those sold than that one, but that's just what worked for me. So, but it's good to see that it is, and I knew he's good for sure, and I haven't heard the new record yet, but I look forward to diving back into it. I actually got a friend of mine, Cameron, who works for him. So this kind of right hand man I actually talked to a couple weeks ago because they did some shows at Billy Bob's, and he was at needed some production stuff, and we had a friend that was flying through town, and she hit me up, wanted to know if I knew anybody with his camp. It was Hannah Dasher. You know Hannah Dasher?
That name sounds familiar.
Go check out songwriter, works with Jaron Johnson from TC3. She's one of CMT's new women of country to watch after. She's a hoot, got the big old hair and the Dolly Parton outfits and all that stuff. And she's a hoot. I've known her for a long time, but she hit me up and was going to go meet up with them, have a beer before she had to continue on her flight path. But anyway, so Cameron and I caught up. So yeah, they're back out hungry too. And it sounds like, talking to him, their TR's about to do a bunch of shows and on support of that new album, which looks like, from what I'm looking at, everybody's about to go out and play as much as, with all like we talked at the first of the show, there's so many new albums coming out. Everybody's got stuff to put out, even if they put it out 6 months ago, they haven't got to work it yet. So they're still, and fans.
I mean, totally.
I know for me, I'm ready to go to shows. I know you guys are ready to go to shows. I think everybody else is ready to go. So.
Well, and I was going to say, you guys kind of teased on it when Justin's new album was just coming out, but we like those. I think it's 8 songs. We want 8 or 10 more. So You can tell them that.
Yeah, that's the plan. That why he did a shorter one. They're going to try to churn them out faster, put more to a way to get more music out instead
Yeah,
of doing.
we can't wait 2 years.
Yeah, I know, right? So that's the plan. They're going to try to do one every year. I think
Nice.
is
That's
give or
big.
take.
Well, and with
So,
you said it earlier, just the accessibility of the digital world that we're in, everybody's finding new stuff so fast anyways that, if we can get 8 songs a year rather than 16 every two, or, Morgan just did it, drop a
yeah,
double album because he'd been sleeping on, how many hundreds of songs that he
right.
narrowed down into 60, but
Yeah, and these were songs that were going to be on Justin's last record that didn't make
right.
it. So this is basically because that's what he wanted to do was like a double album thing last time, but that wasn't the way it ended up going. So this is kind of like a continuation of the Late Nights and Long Necks record.
I love it.
Yeah. So and different from him than a lot of those guys. A lot of people did get real creative during the break. Justin, we talked about it some. He wrote very little during the quarantine. He said he just wasn't inspired, just wasn't very, he didn't have anything really that hit him, he didn't have that thing, that artistic thing to hit him. He just stayed busy with the kids and trying to stay positive, and just really didn't, as some do, some don't. And I think he did a lot of family things he needed, had to use that time for. So he didn't as much, but like most of them, there's another 100 songs all of them have that they've worked on for the last 10 years that haven't made that are good, or great. Some are great. I mean, I know, like we talked about earlier, before I worked for Justin, I worked for John Party, and he'll send me all his new stuff before it gets out. He'll usually send me 20, 25 tracks, and it's only going to be 12 or 15 usually, or 10, depending now. And usually the 2 or 3 that I love the most don't make the album, every album. And then I'm like, maybe next album. And then they've changed and you got a whole new batch of songs. So that song's just never going to make it until maybe somebody like a Dylan Carmichael, somebody comes along later and makes it new again. But the song could have been written 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah, I actually saw that with Parker McCollum. I got deep into Spotify one day, and all of a sudden, Like a Cowboy comes on, and I was like, oh, that's not Parker. Well, I look, and it was written, I think 10 years ago, recorded 5 years ago, and never landed. And now he hits it, and you hear him all over the radio. But that's a great example.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, it happens all the time. That's one of John's songs I was just talking about. It happens all the time.
Yeah, right.
I thought that was going to be a big old hit, and it didn't even. I don't even know if it ever made an album.
And I mean, talk about a talent. Like, I think when you guys talked to John, just the stuff that didn't even come close to ringing the bell, or the most popular songs at a show at night.
yeah, always is. Yeah, John was my first experience coming out west, really, because he's from Northern California.
Oh yeah.
So like outside of Sacramento. The first time I'd ever spent any time out west, like in farm country, was up there with him out there, man. Beautiful.
Yeah, you can get out there up in that part of California.
Yeah, the hunting camp we went to the first time I went out there, it was like 9,000 acre ranch, and whoa. I equate it to the only place I've ever been that's been so remote that I've been, besides like going to Mexico or somewhere in the States, was like going down the swamps of Louisiana, when you have to go out on boats for, an hour and a half to find this camp. And you get out there and you realize you can't walk home, you can't swim home. If you ain't nobody looking for, you're remote. And when we went up to that hunting camp, same thing. We go down we get off the main road. We're on a paved site, 2-lane road. And we come to a gravel road, and we go down it, and we go through a gate, and we go down the gravel road another mile. Then the gravel turns to dirt. And we're in these like looks like safari jeeps off of, at Busch Gardens or something, or in Africa, and we go on that road. I mean, it had to have been 2 or 3 more hours crawling in these jeeps up and down these mountain things and steep cliffs. And I mean, it was just like, and you'd see water troughs because everything needed water. And we got back there and realized, if you don't have adequate water or a way to get in and out, there ain't no cell service, nothing like that. You are remote. You are removed from civilization. And I didn't realize that even existed. I thought growing up where I'm from, you just think California's, rollerblading in bikinis at the beach, people lifting weights on the beach. You don't even know that's a thing. It's out there on top of those cliffs looking over Lake Berryessa on the Yolo Napa County line. I mean, it's just beautiful.
Yeah, those Sierra Nevada mountains up there in Northern California, and just, I mean, it really is wide open spaces as far as, out west goes, because you've got, Wyoming's flat and there's not a lot going there. But yeah,
Yeah.
you get out to California and you hit that mountain range and it's just beautiful out there.
Yeah, I remember we were in Wyoming recently in Casper, and I was talking with some local people that were actually friends of Justin's grandparents when they were stationed in England,
Oh,
when Justin's dad was little, and they live out there near Casper, and they were saying that the fort there near Casper, I can't remember it's a famous fort, but I can't remember the name of it. They said it was one of the only forts in the country that didn't have walls because they didn't need them because it was so flat, nobody was going to sneak up on you. You could see for so far that no one was going to sneak up. So it didn't even have walls around the fort because you didn't need them because no one could sneak up on you. So,
that's
and I
hilarious.
remember in the distance there was a mountain, and I remember they were saying, that was like hundreds of miles, but it looked right there because everything was so flat. And they said that's why they couldn't live in the South because you didn't have open views like that because we have trees everywhere unless you're on top of a mountain. So
Yeah.
they liked it flat, and we're thinking the opposite. I'm like, I like me some trees.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But beautiful country out there for sure.
Yeah, it's a lot, and Idaho's kind of got the best of both worlds. We're a little well kept secret that people are starting to find out about, but we've got the mountains, we've got the desert, little bit of something for everything. So if you ever
Are
get the chance to explore a little bit, it's the place to be.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna hook up with you guys. I'm gonna be up there one day on a day off or passing through or something. I'll get you guys to show me some local stuff. How speaking of that, I know down here real estate market's hot. It sounds like it's everywhere. Is y'all getting a lot of influx from people leaving big cities, California and stuff, trying to move where you're at?
Yeah,
Yeah, I think
we're
yeah,
getting Seattle.
Boise's the Boise's the hottest market for people coming out of California, and honestly, it's the same here, and they're even more expensive
Yeah.
in pretty much all of Washington. It is ridiculous.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. I've got a friend in Steamboat Springs, Colorado, and he said same thing. He and his
Yep.
girlfriend were looking for places down here and I'm like, dude, it's high as hell down here right now. He said it still is not as bad as Steamboat. He said everywhere is just you can't even get a house. He said people are, you know, buying sight unseen and that kind of stuff. Mass exodus
Yeah,
from
these
big
places are
cities.
on the market for less than 6 hours, and in Washington, I mean, you got maybe a 4-bed 2-bath going for $1 million,
Wow.
or 3-bed 2-bath for over 600, and then they're
Wow.
getting 50 or 100 over asking in cash.
Yeah, that's what my wife's in real estate, and that's what she's saying it is down here.
Oh yeah.
It's just crazy. She just got into real estate, so she's not quite in on the boom per se. She's right there on the cusp of it, but she's yeah, she's told me some of that. It's just crazy because down here's the same. Even our house, we bought our house pre-pandemic, and I mean it's up 40%, 30-40% since we bought this house,
Wow.
which is
Wow.
crazy. Which is crazy. Hadn't it's normal. Beach rise of it's a little higher than national average, but still not crazy like that. But sounds like that's everywhere. You got to tell everybody when they leave these places that they don't that's not they don't like anymore. It's like, well, don't go change where you go to. I
Don't
tell
bring
everybody don't California my Alabama. We're good. Y'all
Yeah,
come
don't
enjoy the weather,
say
leave your politics wherever you left it. We're good here. Everybody has things they need to work on in life, in politics, as a state, as a human, as a race, as mammals on this earth. We all need to strive to do better in a lot of things all the time. That is there's no denying that we all could do better on a lot of things. But don't I don't want Alabama to end up like California. And I love California, and I hope they get it on the right track. But
yeah.
but man, that's part of my getting into podcast was listening to Rogan, and he and most of his guests and all his friends out there, and you hear those stories, and I got to see a little of it firsthand, but we're only in and out a lot of times. I never have to stay there that long, and usually we stay out of town, we don't stay in town. But yeah, just seeing some of that, and then I have same thing. I've got family or friends of mine's family that live over there, and they're all moving to Arizona or to Colorado. Some of them are moving to Tennessee and Arkansas and other places just because they say taxes are too much. There's all these problems, and then the lack of competence from what they perceive their government's trying to do to them, and it's sad. It sucks. It's like, man, California's beautiful. What could be the problem over there?
Right.
And it obviously is. So I think everybody needs everybody strive to be a little nicer to each other and better. Don't freak out. and don't bring your politics to the state you're moving to, because obviously you like something about where you're going a little better than where you left.
Right.
So,
Yeah. Sounds like you've been talking to some local Idaho residents, because that's a page out of their book. But hey, it goes back to what you always say at the end of the episodes with Charlie Daniels. You know, we just got to pray for people and hope that people can wake up on the right side of the bed here.
that's right. Let's all make every morning we get a whole new 24-hour restart clock to do the best we can do. You know.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we just need some more God-fearing people. You know.
Yeah, common sense. Like Charlie always says, common sense is what we're lacking. Obviously, we got a lot of mismanaged funds. I mean, to be a big a country as we are, and to have all the problems we've had, you know, through the pandemic, to be as civilized as we should be, to not be more prepared as we are for certain things. But yeah, common sense, the lack of common sense, and you know, and a lot of it's mental health. You know, we've got a big problem in our country with that needs addressing too. You know, there's a homeless problem disguised, or a mental health problem disguised as a homeless problem. That's everywhere. You see that expanding more than just the big cities. And that goes back to common sense. It's common sense. We need to help these people that can help themselves, but also it's common sense that if there's five, or say there's five of us three, Justin and another buddy of y'all's, if all five of us go to work or can work, and we all work, all right, well, if one of us can't because he gets hurt or he's injured, okay, us four can tote it. All right, if somebody else gets sick or something, well, it's going to be tough, but three of us can still help the other two that need the help. Another one goes down or just chooses not to, and these two got to tote all three, boy, then it's really tough. Well, the other guy says, well, hell, he quit, let me quit too, I'll just quit too, and this one guy's still doing it all. It ain't gonna work. We can't help each other. We got to all work hard so we can help the brothers and sisters that need the help. We can give them the help, but we all that can got to work as hard as we can so we can help those people. That's what humans we're supposed to be doing for each other. And if at this point in the evolution of human, if people don't realize the gender and color, that we're all a lot more alike than we are different, then they've been living under a rock, because that's, I mean, that's just it. We all, no matter where you live on this earth, we are a lot more different than we are alike. I mean, a lot more alike than we are different. And at this point, the people who don't realize that are, you know, I don't know.
Need a wake up call.
Yeah, for sure. But it goes back to that. It's just common sense. That's common sense. But when you see a lack of that, then everything else kind of trickles down. It's like, you know, you have mismanaged from the top. It's going to trickle down to the bottom, not being able to take care of their end of the deal too. So, but yeah, I'm speaking of that book. I have it here with me all the time, man. So I'll make the day count. That's a good one. Anybody who hadn't yet, go to charliedaniels.com and order you one of those. Help the cause, because I think most of all their proceeds and stuff still go to Charlie's charities that his son and wife run now. So, but yeah, I've got a lot of good use out of that, and that's definitely what everybody needs to do, for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, it's at the end of the day, it's about being a good person, and we gotta be the bigger person. If someone else isn't doing their part, we gotta pick up the slack and you know, let God shine through at the end of the day.
That's right. That's right. Be a light, for sure. Love more than you hate, for sure. There's no reason to hate anything, really.
Nope.
I mean, there's no reason, really. I mean, you know,
not doing anyone any good.
No, for sure. I dislike some things, but wouldn't do them myself. Don't approve of everything, but definitely just got to love. Everybody needs to love, man. Love your brothers and sisters. That's what we all are. We're all one big race. But yeah. So sure, but no, I've had a good time, man. I'm good. If there's anything else y'all want to talk about, I'm down. I'm in no big rush. So, like I said, I got all my chores knocked out. I know y'all don't. I don't know how if y'all usually do 2-hour podcasts, but I've had a good time chopping it up. You guys are fun.
Man, we appreciate, you know, every minute that you've given us, and yeah, it's it feels like after the end of the 2 hours that we've known you our whole lives, and obviously listen to you and Justin chop it up back and forth every week. I mean, that's what we knew we were going to get, and that's the kind of guys that both of you are. And so yeah, JR, we just appreciate all of your time and just being willing to jump in with both feet, and it's been awesome, more than we could ever ask for.
And I mean, you said you'd come back on for a little update, maybe end of the summer, and we would love to have you back on, because we know that there's a lot of content out there.
Oh yeah, anytime, man. Yeah, anytime. If y'all got something y'all just want me to chime in for a short segment on or something, and think about it, just hit me up. I'll make sure we get done. I'll send y'all my cell number so you can just text me. And yeah, anytime I'll jump on as long as I'm available.
Yeah,
and on Zoom, I mean, I'm doing it from my home studio today, so I get y'all the best quality I can get. But even on the road, I mean, if I had to do it on my phone or something, we could figure something out.
Oh,
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
definitely. I mean, we'll have to keep the conversation going on the side about any more deep cuts that we come up with, or if we hear someone, we'll have to run them by you and see if they're on your radar. I'm sure they are because you're
No, you never
you're in
know.
both feet. But yeah, you never know, especially more music coming out of the Northwest, and we'll try to keep the pulse up here as people start coming out with more stuff. And these days, it's so easy to upload to Spotify. You never know who you're going to come across.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Please do. Anytime y'all hear somebody new, just text it to me, and that way we can we'll keep a chain going that way.
For sure. Well, JR, final thing. Just want you to be able to tell everybody where they can find the JM podcast and listen to you and him chop it up each week, and then we'll get out of your hair.
Oh man, you've been great, guys. Yeah, the Justin Moore podcast you can find anywhere you find your podcast, iTunes, Spotify, any of those normal places. We actually do a video as well that's on YouTube. You can find on Justin's YouTube channel, or you can go to jrthehandler.com, which is my website. It's got links to everything. I'm actually going to go update it now with some new videos, and there'll be a link to this podcast on there as well as soon as we get this aired. But that's jrthehandler.com, and like I said, on there you can find links to the podcast, my swag page, which I've been promoting lately. I've got some t-shirts and cool stuff on there that I promote on my swag page, some merchandise I've got out. That's my logo.
Love the
Oh
logo.
yeah.
That
Yeah,
y'all were,
we're waiting for your hat.
I am too, because I wanted the right kind. So everything's on back order, which makes sense now. I think things like everything in the supply chain's on back order. Hey, you guys were talking about you've been to 100 shows. I have to show people this, my little stack back here. I've been to a few shows myself.
Oh, all those,
That is awesome.
all the passes.
Those are a few of the collection.
Yeah, we love that.
I lost all my first ones in a house fire in Nashville in 07. So everything in my career prior to 07 got lost, but this is most of it since then. But anyway, yeah. So you go to jrthehandler.com to find links to the podcast and all of my stuff, YouTube channel, all that, or you can go to justinmooremusic.com. That's Justin's website, and there's links to it on there as well. If not, like I said, go to the iTunes, the little purple app, and you can find it there, or on the YouTube app. And check us out if you like it. Give us a 5-star rating, just like you do these guys every time you listen to it, and leave a little short review. I see all you guys are creeping up there in reviews. So everybody keep giving these guys some reviews, and tell us what you think about our podcast as well. And yeah, that's about it. I'm JR the Handler on Twitter and Instagram. That's my main go-tos. If not, I do a chat with people through my little chat on my website. I find it's pretty easy and quick. I have a little app on my phone to do it from. It seems like they change Twitter and Instagram every so often, and then I'm lost. I'm like, who am I talking to? How long ago was this?
Yeah, it's hard to keep up.
It really is. I find that I use Wix is who I do my website and stuff through. I find the Wix app on there, my little chat app on my Wix through my website, is so much easier. So that's why I do that.
Yeah, Wix is helpful. That's actually, I run the website for our company, and the Wix is just super, super easy to use.
Yep. But yeah, so that's our podcast. We put it out once a week. And like I said, we're about where you guys at. We're about on episode 50. I need to figure that out. We should have a big episode for 50. And we're going to take a little break around 4th of July, but we've got a few episodes coming out before then. So y'all check after you listen to the Climb the Ladder podcast to go listen to the Justin Moore podcast.
Yeah, we appreciate that. And like Duncan said, we'll keep the conversation going, and we've just loved having you. Like, I mean, we were like two kids just preparing for this. We've been so excited. We love sports and country music, and the way that this came together is just more than we could ask for.
Well, I listened to last week's episode, and y'all were talking about having a guest on for your 50th, and y'all were hyping him up, and I'm like, who is this superstar they got coming on here? No, sure, it's got to be the week before me. No way they're talking about me.
No, so. You're like the McConaughey episode for us. We're
man.
We try to get a little bit of reach, and we'll take the downloads per week that we get, but at the end of the day, it's just a couple brothers talking and hanging out and
just having fun.
So yeah, I mean, this is awesome for us, and we just really appreciate your time, man.
No, I had a great time, dude. Yeah, and for sure, I don't know if the if the podcast world is ready for us to do a full music podcast at some point, but that might be down the pipe there soon. But yeah, you got get those likes and listens. Hopefully, all your listeners out there will hit you guys up on y'all's socials and let you know if they enjoyed us or if they hated it and don't want me to ever come back. So we'll see what the listeners have to say about that and let them kind of dictate it. But anytime you guys need me, I'm here. And next time I'll be a little more prepared too. I'll dig a little more into some sports stuff to have. And now that I know what you guys like to talk about, we'll dial it in a little tighter next time. But yeah, I had a great time, dude. No problem on the time. This was great. I thank you again. Thanks you guys for being flexible and waiting a little bit on me today to get started so I can get those projects knocked out. But yeah, I had a great time, guys. And like I said, everybody go listen to Climb the Ladder podcast, interact with these guys on social media. Hunter and Duncan, they rock. I had a great time, and I want to see you guys in a month or so back here on this. And after you listen to Climb the Ladder podcast, go listen to the Justin Moore podcast. Theirs is much better, but ours is usually a little longer. So you get it's free. Both of them are free, so you get your money's worth no matter what.
Exactly.
Yes, no
so
doubt.
There you go.
We'll go for it.
I was just gonna say thanks again, guys. Yeah, anytime. Y'all just keep me in the loop on that, and I'll be back whenever y'all need me.
Yeah, we'll have you back on, and hopefully we can get to a show maybe before we even get you back on the Zoom machine. We can do something in person.
Yes, for sure. Hey, and too, talking about the Zoom machine, I actually made some T-shirts for the Zoom machine.
Man, we saw those. We were thinking about ordering some before this, but we'll have them before next time for
That's
sure.
Very cool. Yeah, let me know about the design on it if I need to change it. Though that was just something I came up with, but I thought it was simple, but it was like it was just Zoom machine, So, but if
awesome, I love it.
Tweak it, let me know. But anyway, well, thanks, Hunter. Thanks, Duncan. I appreciate you guys.
Thank you,
man.
JR.
Thank you.
This has been awesome, guys. And we'll stay in touch for sure. Thanks again.
All right, guys. Roll Tide, who dat? What's Mariners? What's y'all's?
Right now we're CS Rise.
CS Rise. What is the Hawks is but Feel the Boom?
Yeah.
Feel the Boom.
And then for the Boise State, we got Go Orange, Go Big Blue.
See, that's gonna be tough for me to say.
Yeah.
But I'll say go Boise State. There we go.
Yeah.
Yep. We'll take it.
All right, guys. Well, y'all be good. Stay out of trouble, and I'll talk to you guys soon.
All right, man. Take care.
They are.
Thanks, guys. Cheers.